Let's go. Welcome. This is a new era for the Mangalorian. I'm Danny. You're here on Geekdom 101. I'm joined by Jordan, the Dragon Lee over here, who joined me for the original 42 volumes of the manga, the original run of the Mangalorian. We also talked about Jocko, and we promised everybody. So originally, the Mangalorian was going to be a study of the original 42 volumes of the manga. And we came up with this prior to Toriyama's passing. When he did pass, though, it sort of added an extra emotional weight. But we had decided we were just going to do the original 42 plus some additional bonus episodes here and there. We wound up doing 2 with Derek Padula, and we reviewed Jocko. And I'm still down to go back and look at some of the Galactic Patrol stuff, especially going into next year, because I think we're going to have to refresh the folks on some of that stuff. And I'm talking about like the stuff Toriyama wrote, not just Jocko, the previous Galactic Patrols.
Well, he didn't write Geo completely. He helped with it, but yeah, all of the Galactic Patrol stuff is worth looking into.
Right. No, for sure. And I think it'd be fun to do a little bit closer to the next phase of Super. So what happened was the 42 volumes, it was a short-lived series with a beginning, middle, and end. Now we're entering a new phase, and I'll get into kind of where I'm coming from with this. So once it was official that Dragon Ball Super was going to be adapting the Moro arc, once that became announced, there were a lot of people. And this had been going on even prior to the announcement, but there were a lot of people who were like, how do you feel about the Moro arc now? Have you ever gone back to reread it? And I was like, no. And I, being genuine, I haven't looked at that arc since God knows when, right? And since it first was coming out, right? And there were other friends of mine, Medios is one of them, who read the Granola arc and was like, dude, this is way better if you binge it than if you're reading it month to month. And people said that about the Moro arc too. They said both of those arcs work better if they are binged than if they are read month to month. Now, what I found kind of funny, Jordan, is actually the Dragon Ball Super anime was kind of the reverse. When we were watching it week to week, it was almost like hype. And then when everything died down and I went back to rewatch it, I was like, yeah, this has a lot of problems. With the manga, there were issues there too, but it definitely, a lot of folks were telling me like, hey, you should give it a read. So what I did was I was like, okay, maybe I will do a reread of the Moro arc here on the channel. But then I thought, okay, well, I haven't even read the entirety of the manga. Like what I did is I did my manga reviews and I did my arc recaps. But then after that, here on the channel, I was kind of done with those particular volumes and chapters and whatnot. So I realized I hadn't even reread a lot of this stuff in years. Like we're going to look at material today that I have not looked at in 10 years. The original manga I've reread a few different times, right? Because that's the classic 100% Akira Toriyama and his editors. Toyotaro and the Dragon Ball Super manga, a little bit of a different story. We'll get into that. But then I was like, maybe we should just, because people kept asking, are we going to do Super? And I kept telling them, and you did too, like, we're only doing the original Toriyama stuff. But there were so many people asking, and I was like, I'm going to reread this anyway. So why don't I just do another Mangalorian phase with, and I asked you, and you said you were down to do it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited.
No, I mean, I didn't think you would. I really didn't think you would want to do it. I thought the other 42 volumes that we had done had worn you out, and you were busy doing your concerts and things like that. I thought you were checked out.
Well, don't get me wrong. It is exhausting doing streams all the time. I don't see how you do it. But I do,
because I'm a grifter. I'm a greedy grifter. I'm joking.
My love of Dragon Ball goes beyond that. I'm hyped to be a part of this. Very excited.
So yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're here. I couldn't do this without you, and it's going to be us doing this for the next 20 volumes, and well, 24 volumes, right? There's 24 total. So
yeah,
we've got, unlike the 42, we've got the reverse number 24. And of course, these came out different than the original manga did. The original manga was in weekly Shonen Jump from 84 to 95 weekly, with the exception of a few short, like vacation weeks that not even Toriyama took a vacation, just the magazine would be on break or they'd have special editions. For the Dragon Super manga, I feel like we're going to, it's less streams, but it's a lot of content still. Now, what I wanted to do with this first stream of the new era, Dragon Ball Super manga volume 1, is I wanted to, first, we're going to start with, I've already explained to y'all why we're doing this. Of course, make sure you check out Jordan's channel in the comments down below for some of the more advanced Dragon Ball topics. You can find them over there on his channel. And now I want to first talk about the big difference between the Dragon Ball manga and the Dragon Ball Super manga and what it was originally supposed to be and what it would become. Now, before we do, we've got a couple of super chats quickly. Bob Zor's cracking jokes on your internet. Hopefully zero, bro.
Yeah, somebody else was asking about like what flavor my son's cake was for my birthday, because his son was yesterday, or his birthday was yesterday, and I posted it on social media. And he didn't get a cake; he got a gaming PC.
Well, that's a better gift if you ask me.
So I had to tell him today. I was like, I know you're excited to get on that gaming PC when you get home from school. I was like, but I've got a live stream, so you're gonna have to like wait till I'm done. So
now I feel guilty.
But
I was gonna say one rots your brain and one rots your teeth, but
sometimes I have to tell my household to kind of lay back on the internet so my internet doesn't drop, and I did that today, so we should be fine.
And you're also not outside like that one time.
Yeah,
that was a wacky stream. Are you guys planning on changing the Mangalorian logo, specifically change Kid Goku to Blue Goku from the manga spine art volume 1? No, and the reason for that is because the thing about the Mangalorian, even though we're going into the Super era, it's still a representation of Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball. There wasn't the original manga, there would be no Super. That is objectively true. You cannot argue that. And the initial version of Goku that we were introduced to is Kid Goku. That's Goku, brother. And so because of that, I didn't think we even had to change the logo. And the logo, this logo up here was done by Accelerator. He did like our little border or whatever. The logo itself is just the Mandalorian font, but it says Mangalorian. And with these thumbnails, we added the Super logo. But other than that, same thing, man, because it's still Dragon Ball, and it all starts with Dragon Ball Volume 1. So now I want to talk about this man known as Toyotaro. I want to get into a brief history about who this guy is, because if we don't establish who Toyotaro is from this first stream, people are going to get it twisted. Now, if you were one of those people that was watching the Geekdom 101 YouTube channel 11 years ago now, my anniversary was 2 days ago, bro.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah, your son's birthday was yesterday. Geekdom 101's birthday was 2 days ago. Not me, the channel, because I'm not Geekdom 101. I'm Danny, even though people call me that.
And the anniversary of Toriyama's death wasn't that long ago either.
Was 3 days ago, bro.
Yeah.
This is talk about a roller coaster of a week.
Yeah, and me and Griffin, the Keiko Daimon manga that we've been working on for a while, we got it done on the anniversary of Toriyama's death, and it's a tribute to Toriyama. So I thought that was finished. Yeah, it was finished the day of the anniversary of his death, which is like we did not do that on purpose. That was completely by accident. So
I love the happy coincidences, bro. It's like, in this case, though, it's a sad coincidence because he's gone. It's been 2 years. And right now, as we record this, as we live stream this first Mangalorian Super, we do not know the state of the Super manga. We know it's still on hiatus. We know they haven't said it was ending. They didn't say it was over. So again, we're just left here doing this. So why not now go back and revisit the past? Now, who is Toyotaro? So if you were around 11 years ago, I covered this entire origin from the very beginning, but we have more information now than we did back then, even though I was covering it. So Toyotaro is an artist who, prior to being Toyotaro, was named Toyble. And it's the same guy, all right? He never admitted that it's the same guy, but it's the same guy. And what happened was he was working. First, he worked on his own version of AF, and I covered that in my History of AF Dragon Ball In-Depth video. And then later, he was actually brought in to do Dragon Ball Heroes, the manga. This is prior to Super. This is what Heroes, because people have to understand. Go ahead, brother.
And in between that, he went to college to be a movie director. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
He went from being a kid, you know, who dreamed about doing Dragon Ball, a little Japanese Toriyama wannabe kid, to going to college to be a movie director, to working for, you know, the Dragon Ball Heroes staff, which is pretty wild.
Well, I mean, it gets even wilder for him because this guy grew up a fan of Dragon Ball. He's a bit older than you and I are, a few years, but Japanese people look so young all the time, bro, that you probably think he was younger, but he's a little bit older than us. But he was a massive fan of the Dragon Ball manga, and he gets brought in to do Heroes. What ends up happening in 2015 is shortly after Resurrection F was finished, Toei got approval to start a new Dragon Ball series called Dragon Ball Super. And initially, they were going to do, and this was initially, the idea was that they were going to readapt the two movies that had just come out, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. Akira Toriyama was told of that. And then when Toriyama went public with the information, he himself said, I've written a strange new story. That's what he called it, a strange new story where our friends meet the fighters from Universe 6, which of course became the Champa arc and the Universe 6 arc, and away we go. We'll talk about more of that later today. So Toyble was, I guess he renamed himself Toyotaro, and initially there was no Dragon Ball Super manga. He was brought in to do a 3-part Resurrection F promotional manga. And I used to have this promotional manga. I deleted it probably 11 years ago. It might be on some hard drive somewhere in the other side of my house. I don't know. It's gone. I was originally thinking about covering it here. I don't think it's really that necessary, but it essentially covered the Resurrection F story right before Goku and Vegeta start their fight with Frieza. So the promo manga did not cover the entirety of Resurrection F. The idea behind the promo manga was to get people hyped up for the Resurrection F movie. So Toyotaro would give the first half of the story, and then people would say, to be continued in the movie, you have to go to the movie theater to see what happens.
Right.
That was the entire reason behind Resurrection F's manga.
He was a promotional artist. Yeah, he was a promotional artist. He was not an official mangaka. He was a promotional artist.
At all. He was he was in a mangaka of Heroes, but it wasn't Super. It wasn't
even that is considered a promotional artist. Like, you can do manga for Heroes, but because it's not a manga that's in Jump, that's like it's
in one of the other Jumps. I forget.
Yeah, because it's not the canon, quote unquote, which we'll get into that crap too.
We'll talk about that later.
But because it's not, you know, the official continuation or whatever, it's just promotional. So at that time, he's just a promotional artist.
Yes, and this was a huge thing for him because he got to do Resurrection F, not alongside Toriyama, but he did get to see the film and what they had of the film. He got to see storyboards before the public did. He was invited to Toei. Toyotaro was invited to Toei Animation to see the film before it went public, including unfinished shots. This is new information that I have information that I haven't made videos on yet because I'm holding off on. I have a big project I'm going to announce next year with a ton of information about the movies. And this is information I'm holding on to. And this is one of them. He was invited to Toei to view the unfinished film and the storyboard so he can map out the promo manga, but was told right here, you got to let him go see the movie. It's like wrestling. You get your 4 shows and then you get your pay-per-view.
Right.
Resurrection F the movie was the pay-per-view. You got to see the story up until now, but you got to go see the pay-per-view. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Some other dude, which is Splat. Happy belated anniversary to the channel, Danny. Thank you, Splat. Happy belated birthday to your son, Jordan. Keep up the work, lads.
Awesome. Good to hear from you, man.
He loves to use the word lads, even though I think he's American. Isn't lads like a British thing?
I think it's a European thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, bro. I'm not American. Y'all have to teach me about the English language. So after the Resurrection F manga, shortly after, Shueisha announces that Toyotaro's coming back for a Dragon Ball Super promotional manga. This was in 2015. Now, we have to really get some misconceptions out of the way right now, because there's a lot of misconceptions about this era that people forget. I was covering this daily at the time, and we know even more now than we did back then. First of all, the Dragon Ball Super manga was originally intended to be nothing more than an advertising vehicle for the Dragon Ball Super anime. The idea was, and this is something that makes a lot more sense in Japan than it does outside of Japan, because the Japanese, you and I have talked about this in the past, Jordan, the Japanese manga in Japan is at a much higher level of respect than a lot of people understand. There's people in Japan that do not watch anime. Like Toriyama was kind of one of them, bro, and he admitted that years later. There's people in Japan that read manga. Now, think about this from an American perspective. It's the opposite. Billions of people go see the MCU every time there's a new movie, but they almost never read the comics nowadays. Japan, It's almost backwards. It is backwards. Yeah, and I say almost because it's changed more lately than it was back in the day. But Shueisha's idea was, we're gonna tell them about Super through the magazines, but it wasn't going to be Weekly Shonen Jump because it wasn't a weekly manga. It was a promotional monthly manga. So instead, we got it from V Jump, with the idea being there's 4 episodes of Super a month and 1 manga chapter. My alarm's going off, but it's going off an hour later than it should have. I'll take care of that in just a minute, all right? I'm going to just wrap up what I was going to say. I can't believe it. I actually meant to put it an hour earlier. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So it's distracting me, bro. You talking, I'll shut it off.
Okay. So yeah, Toyotaro's manga at the time was only promotional. He didn't really start working heavily with Toriyama until the Black Arc. And at that point, he continuously got more and more involved. His relationship with Toyotaro became more and more concrete in terms of him being a quote-unquote successor. That happened around the time that Zamasu and the Goku Black Arc.
Okay, sorry. I was so distracted, dude. It was like, what'd you say when I was gone?
I was just talking about how, Toyotaro and Toriyama started working together more intimately around the time that the Goku Black Arc rolled around.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go more into that as we go through these volumes. Yeah. So originally, this was just supposed to promote the Dragon Ball Super anime because it was new and they wanted to have a publication. And as you stated, right around the Trunks arc is when things started to change. And actually, the decision was probably made in the early part of the Trunks arc, only because of the fact that Shueisha had other plans and changed their mind about what the manga was going to be. Well, so I like this. It's still weird. DBS has 2 versions of the same thing. No, buddy, 3 versions.
And now more.
Yeah. Now, I'm saying now it's going to be at least 3. But for Battle of Gods, there's Battle of Gods theatrical cut, Battle of Gods extended cut, Battle of Gods the anime, and Battle of Gods the manga, and Dragon Ball Super Beerus. Now there's 5 total.
Here's something that a lot of people don't know about Toyotaro around the time that you're talking about, where he's doing the promotional stuff and all that kind of stuff. He also kind of like wormed his way into working on the Dragon Ball Super anime. Like he designed like half of
that
the
was
gods
much
of
later, but
destruction.
yes,
Yeah,
and the
like
angels.
yeah, he designed like a lot of the anime characters that, you know, it's funny because people think of like the manga as a separate thing because it's by Toyotaro and the anime isn't directly by Toyotaro, but Toyotaro did have a huge impact and hand in the Dragon Ball Super anime. He designed a lot of the characters. He did become more intimately involved as well. So that's part of the reason this whole manga thing just gets so weird, because it's like the process is not set in stone. It was a improvisational attempt at bringing Dragon Ball back. They didn't really have everything set in stone in terms of what they wanted to do from the initial start of Dragon Ball's Renaissance. We see that very clearly due to the fact that we have an animated version of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F right after they made a movie. You know, all this stuff was improvised and it wasn't like very well planned. So like this idea that the idea that there's this consistent idea or concrete measure as to what is the more valid interpretation of the story, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't.
Especially with Super. You see, when you and I talked about, and we briefly talked about canon, the safest canon is the OG 42, because we know how that was made. Super, we know how it was made too. It's just a lot more convoluted, and there were so many
adaptations of adaptations, right?
Adaptation, yeah, over and over and over again. People, different creative people being involved. We have to talk about the fact that when the Dragon Ball Super manga started, well, we're going to cover today volume 1 of the Dragon Ball Super manga. Toyotaro was not reading Toriyama's manuscripts like what happened later.
No, he was adapting the anime. Yeah.
Right. And we're going to discuss that because there is a lot of different misconceptions. I'm going to say something now that's going to come off egotistical to some, but I don't think it's really egotistical. It's actually the truth, because I've explored the fandom. I think the fandom, again, it's going to sound egotistical, but I'm actually really glad the fandom has somebody like me in it. And I'll tell you why. Because good Lord in heaven, can you imagine somebody trying to make sense of this? Any other Dragon Ball YouTuber who hasn't been dialed in since the beginning of Super and doesn't know exactly what's going on with Shueisha, even though now we don't know exactly what was going on back then, how the thing changed, when it changed. Like, I don't know anybody who has that information, and people are going to just get shit wrong when they make their Instagram and Facebook posts. Like, it's absurd. I'm not saying that to put myself over. There are others like Herms, but he's not a YouTuber. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not that I'm self-masturbating myself. It's like, it's legitimately confusing. It's legitimately confusing.
Well, I am very, very grateful to have people like you and Derek and a number of other people I know of who put out great, informational context in terms of Dragon Ball, because it's already a Japanese product that has a lot of cultural nuance. There's a lot of stuff that just happens behind closed doors because it's culturally nuanced and pointed towards a Japanese audience. There's just a lot of stuff that, if it wasn't for someone like you reporting it, we just wouldn't know. I do think that your role in that has been very, very important, to the same level, in my opinion, of stuff that like me and Derek do. We do cultural context. We talk about how, if you were born and raised in Japan and you had an understanding of the cultural context, that Dragon Ball is pointed towards, you'll better understand the product. That's kind of the thing that me and Derek do. But what you do is you actually you find all the other stuff that's important in terms of like reporting what's actually happening behind the scenes
as best we can, because
exactly, like what the actual
revealed.
Creative process is in terms of like who's actually working on it, why it was created. Like you put out a lot of details that people take for granted. That's for sure.
I appreciate that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't want to come off like an egotistical guy, because it's not even about that. It's just, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, if I were a casual Dragon Ball fan, I would be very confused by what happened with Super. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even saying this as somebody who's jacking himself off. I'm saying it as someone who, based on how bizarre this whole project has been from 2015, even going back to Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, even that had strange anomalies. But it's got even weirder when they announced a new Dragon Ball anime. But instead of jumping right to Universe 6, which is probably what most of us would have preferred, they instead took the scripts that Yusuke Watanabe and Toriyama wrote for Battle of Gods, and Toriyama himself wrote for Resurrection F, and added stuff and bloated stuff that was not anywhere part of Toriyama's vision. Then you've got Toyotaro coming along, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment, adapting the anime, including scenes that Toriyama had nothing to do with.
Right.
I had to cough, so I muted myself there.
Well, I will say, because the promotional manga is so short, I do feel like he at least covered somewhat most of the relevant plot points that Toriyama probably put in the script. But
yes, but it's still adapting the anime,
right.
not the
adaptation
movie.
of an adaptation. Yes.
Yes, it's not the movie. And the reality is, folks, because I saw a lot of people say, well, Dragon Ball Super makes Battle of Gods and Resurrection F not canon. This is why I pull my hair out with these canon debates, bro, because if your idea of canon is what Toriyama worked on, the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F arcs in the 2015 Super, he didn't work on those, my friend. We have evidence now. We know this for a fact. I knew that back then because I remember talking about it right around the time of the Trunks arc. I talked about how Toei, and I think I actually interviewed somebody. I think it might have been Hujio from Kanzenshu. I don't remember. But I remember we talked about how Toei wrote in all that other stuff. Putting the show on Bulma's ship, on the ship, instead of it being in her birthday party at Capsule Corp, that was Toei. Having Tagoma take over Captain Ginyu, that was Toei. Bringing Gotenks in, that was Toei. All these things that people freaking associated with Toriyama had nothing to do with it. And now people are, and I say people because it's really not everyone, but people need to realize that Toriyama really did have very little to do with not just the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z animes, but also Super. It wasn't like he had zero to do with it, because I'd be a lie if I said that.
He himself said that
he's a manga writer.
Well, he also said that because there was so manga, he had to be more involved. He basically didn't have a choice. It wasn't necessarily that he I mean, don't get me wrong, he loves Dragon Ball. He said that when he saw the live action movie that it pissed him off so much that he wanted to come back because he actually genuinely cared about it.
He did not want Toei to do a project without him, and that's what led to him coming back to
right. So
Battle of Gods going to happen without him at first.
Exactly. So essentially what happened is he saw the product being disrespected in live action form, and that emboldened him to come back and work and be more involved in terms of like making sure the anime did things that are more to his taste. But that's not the same as him like writing all of these extra nuanced plot points that the Super anime has. He had very, very little to do with that. He basically just kind of gave him an idea of what he wanted to portray, and they creatively moved things around and did, whatever they felt was necessary to make the product marketable. Because that's their job. That's something a lot of people don't realize about, like, Kyo, Toei. Like, in terms of like when you have a script handed to you from Toriyama, okay, your job at that point is to make the script marketable. Okay, it's to make money at the end of the day. Like, their priority is to turn this into something that people are going to want to watch, and it's going to make money. Okay, and a lot of what Toriyama was giving them was just basically the basic idea for what he wanted. It wasn't like that. Like, I can relate to this process because I do something very, very similar when I'm communicating to people that are collaborating with me creatively. I give them a loose idea of what I want to do, because I want to take advantage of the people around me who are also creative, who have experience in, you know, promoting things and making things palatable for people to where they will enjoy it. I want to take advantage of their experience and their expertise. And Toriyama was like that. That was the reason he always used to praise the Toei staff, like back in the days, because he felt that they were professionals and that they were good at marketing Dragon Ball and making it a bigger product. So Toriyama, it's basically this constant tug of war between Toriyama wanting to do something very particular with his product, and on the corporate end, them having to take what he wants to do with the product and make it into something marketable. And that's what all of Dragon Ball is for the most part, but particularly the Super anime. It's really them just taking the basic ideas that he had at the time and trying to turn it into something that people would want to participate in. So, you know, this idea that Toriyama, even, I mean, don't get me wrong, Super is different than Z in terms of like the creative process.
Very.
But this idea that Toriyama can just do whatever he wants and Shueisha and Toei are going to just adapt it, it's just not true. It's just not true. An editor's job is
they add things too, you know, which we'll
talk about. An editor's job is to not only work out the script with you to where when the script reports to Shueisha or when the script editor reports to Toei or Shueisha, their job is to bring them a script that when they slam it down on the desk, they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, money. Okay, that's his job. Okay, his job is to bring them something that they're going to look at and they're going to smile about. Like that's literally their job. They can't just be like, okay, here's some bullshit, let's put it out. That's not how it works. Okay, like people have this really weird misunderstanding of like the creative process of anime and manga. It's not as straightforward as just I get to put whatever I want down on a page and somebody publishes it and it makes money. That's not how it works. Why do you think Torishima is so instrumental to Dragon Ball? Like the editorial aspect of this whole thing is extremely important.
Yes. I got to do a couple of big debunks and then we're going to dive into the Dragon Ball Super manga volume 1. Right. Big debunks, because I see this time and time again. There's two things I see time and time again that people get wrong, and I'm going to focus mostly on this era. I'm not trying to pick on you, bro, but I'm going to use this as an example. We got to appreciate DB Evolution. It brought DB Renaissance to action. No, that is false information. I see people get this wrong so much. So the quote that people get wrong is Toriyama hated Dragon Ball Evolution so much that he came back to do Battle of Gods. Wrong. That is not what happened. That is false information. Toriyama, brother, Dragon Ball Evolution came out in 2009. Battle of Gods didn't come out till 4 years later. That's nothing to do with Dragon Ball Evolution. Battle of Gods was going to get made without Akira Toriyama. Once again, we have evidence to prove this from the mouth of Toriyama himself. They were going to make this movie without me. And after Evolution, I decided, no, I better check out what they're doing and see if they need me. Yeah. Yusuke Watanabe and Tadayoshi Yamamuro already wrote the initial draft for Battle of Gods. And in that version, Beerus was a lizard that made the Saiyans evil, and Super Saiyan God was a Super Saiyan 4 type of form with gold hair and a cape.
Yep.
This is not even like up for debate. This is the original Battle of Gods. Toriyama stepped in, changed all of that, added the character of Whis, redesigned Super Saiyan God, and then took and rewrote bits and pieces of the script. Made Beerus a more likable character. The original Beerus was an asshole. He was an evil character. The idea of a god of destruction is not what we would sort of see from Super. It was an actual villain. And Toriyama chose to come back because he decided, no, I'm not going to let them get away with doing that. It's not that Evolution ends and Toriyama said, damn it, I'm going to go make Battle of Gods. That is not how it went down. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, I was going to say originally in the strip they were also the source of the evil of the Saiyans
Of
too.
the Saiyans.
Which is
There was a whole new Saiyan backstory.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened. So that's one debunk. The second debunk is Akira Toriyama chose Toyotaro as his successor. Wrong. Toyotaro, well, not entirely wrong. I'm going to do a Snopes where it was sort of right, sort of wrong. Allow me to explain. Toyotaro was hired to do the Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F promo manga after doing Heroes. And then he was hired to do the Dragon Ball Super promotional manga. Toriyama didn't even see him as a successor until many years later.
Yeah.
Because it was just a promotional manga. He didn't even know who the fuck Toyotaro was. They didn't know each other until Toyotaro and him connected when it came to writing the Dragon Ball Super manga later on. Yeah. When this first volume was published, he wasn't Toriyama's chosen hand-picked successor.
No.
He was. That's a fact. Again, all this stuff is archived.
He was basically just being groomed to be that by
he was just going to do a promo manga and that's it. At the time, they didn't plan on him doing Moro or any of that stuff. It was just we're going to adapt the anime.
He was basically just their top promotional artist, and then they ended up implementing him even further.
Yeah, which was something that Shueisha came to a decision about later.
Yeah.
Gabby, I believe it's also 30th anniversary of The Path to Ultimate Strength. Easily one of my favorites, probably third favorite after Battle of Gods and Broly. See, that's a very interesting opinion. I used to hate that movie. I don't really hate it anymore. I like it more now than I did when I was younger. I can't say I love it. It's not in my top 5 or maybe even my top 7, but I am planning on watching it again soon. So yeah. What do you think about Path to Power, Path to Ultimate Strength? Do you have any opinions on that?
It's a good movie. I like it.
Yeah, it was fine. I used to hate it. I know I used to hate it because I didn't like to do designs. Toriyama did design them, but I didn't.
To me, I mean, I still like the original Dragon Ball better, but
me too.
But it's it's a cool little. If you've never watched Dragon Ball before, and or even if you just want to kind of see a different version of the previous events, it's whatever. It's entertaining. I mean, I wouldn't say it's as good as the original Dragon Ball, but it's just honestly, it is one of the products that sometimes I look at and I scratch my head and I'm like, why does this exist? But I mean, it's not bad.
Well, also, the thing about that movie is it does have a great soundtrack. Yes, the tracks were used for some of GT, and it also has Studio Ghibli on it. And that's a fun fact that a lot of folks don't know about. Again, we're saving that for my little movie series. So let's go ahead and dive in to Dragon Ball Super Manga Volume 1. Now, we're going to go through this. This is a fan translation. It's funny how these are all chipified characters. Jordan, they had Daima planned all the way back in 2015. Somebody on Instagram told me that.
That's hilarious.
All right. Do you remember the controversy behind this image? How there was a misprint where one of the Dragon Balls had 9 stars and everybody was like, oh my God, there's a 9-star ball.
I do remember that,
yeah. If y'all weren't around back then, bro, in 2015, bro, this whole thing was the Wild West out here on Dragon Ball YouTube. Okay. So I want to, first of all, I hate the fact that they translate this as Hercule. I despise that. They're recapping the end of the Buu saga because Battle of Gods takes place 4 years after the end of the destruction of Majin Buu. Yes, I know that the anime made a mistranslation where they said it was 6 months after. It's not. It's 4 years. That was proven with the official Dragon Ball timeline that used to be on Toei's page and now it's gone. I covered it. Again, if you want coverage of this era, all you got to do is go to the Geekdom 101, go to videos, type oldest, where it says newest, oldest, biggest, or whatever, most viewed, oldest, newest, hit oldest, and watch the videos I did in 2015 because I went through all of this when it was first coming out. Now, what were Jordan and I talking about? We were talking about the fact that this is an adaptation of an adaptation. Boom, right at the beginning. This whole thing with Goku and the tractor and him doing the vegetation, this is not in Battle of Gods. Battle of Gods starts with Goku on Kaio's planet. This is not in Toriyama and Watanabe's Battle of Gods. This is in the Dragon Ball Super anime. Right here, if you're arguing canon with somebody, they could straight up say, well, this scene in the manga is not canon. And if you're basing it on what Toriyama came up with, they're right. You can't even argue it. That's why canon debates are stupid. Because you can't debate it.
Here's another thing, and I'm sure you'll agree with this too, because we get new information all the time. We don't know everything Toriyama like directly helped with for the Super anime either. Like we don't know.
We know it wasn't this though.
Right.
We know it wasn't the first two arcs.
But what I'm saying is if we found out that Toriyama came up with any of this stuff, it doesn't have any impact on I guess the argument
it doesn't matter is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Right?
What I'm trying to say is even if Toriyama, even if we found out tomorrow that the idea of Goku being a farmer and like being on a tractor or whatever came directly from Toriyama, it doesn't matter. Like that wouldn't have any the Super as a product. Well, Super as a product is a mixture of ideas from Toriyama and from Toei and from Toyotaro. It wouldn't matter.
I want to add something to what you just said though. Toriyama making Goku a radish farmer, that is something he came up with for the Yo Son Goku special in 2008, not for Battle of Gods. They borrowed Goku being a radish farmer from that.
And I will say, just to get into the Super as a product and as a manga, one thing I will point out here is that if any other person was put in charge of writing the sequel to Dragon Ball Z, none of them would open up with Goku farming. If you put any fan in charge of Dragon Ball as a product, they are not going to open with this. They're going to open with Goku in his gi, training some crazy ass place, getting stronger. Because that's what he does. So this is very unique. This is a very, very unique approach to Goku's character that they're taking, probably for good reason. But despite the fact that this isn't, directly Toriyama, I will say that, Goku opening the manga with Goku not doing something stereotypical, which is, wearing his gi, training with some like ridiculous force or whatever, and instead he's just like on Earth farming for his family. That is a pretty Dragon Ball-esque thing to do. So I will give the concept credit in that sense, because
it does Yo Son Goku though.
Right. Like it does come off like a fluid decision, and it makes sense.
I do have questions though. I want to address this comment briefly. Goku as a farmer makes him more of a country bumpkin. It does, but it also leaves me open to a question that I've had now for 11 years, right? If Goku is best friends with Bulma, the richest family on the planet, and he has saved her life hundreds of times, why do the Sun family have money problems?
That's a great question.
I mean, look. I'm not saying that if I had a billionaire friend, I would ask him to take care of me for the rest of my life. But if I was a billionaire and I had my life saved 100 times, buddy, your kids are going to college. Do you want them to go to Harvard or Yale? You understand what I'm saying? You would think that Bulma would have handed it. But so that whole thing has always been funny to me, how they you would think that the Sun family would be good to go, right?
I think Chi-Chi, I think Chi-Chi wouldn't just straight up ask. But
No,
I
but
do
Bulma
think,
would give.
but I
But
do
Bulma
think
would
if
give.
Bulma, I do think that if Bulma was like, hey, you know, because the thing is you have to think about this from the psychological perspective of Chi-Chi. She
Right.
can use them being low on money to make Goku do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Okay.
In some ways.
So, and that's the reason that she's not very like honest and straightforward about how much money they have, is because she can use that as an opportunity to manipulate Goku to stay on Earth, farm, yada yada yada. She can use that as an opportunity. Now, I think that it's partially because you've got Chi-Chi pulling stunts like that, and then you've also got Goku, which we're going to see here in a few minutes. When he's offered money, he's so humble that he's just like, I don't need it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
That's
it's
true.
a combination of those two things. I think they kind of step on their own foot in that sense. You know what I mean? Because
I
Chi-Chi's
do.
trying to, because
It's
Chi-Chi's
just a
trying to
funny
be.
observation.
It is a funny observation. I'm glad you brought it up. It's very interesting because
Because you would think they'd be set for life, all of them.
yeah,
would.
because it kind of shows you like how intricate Dragon Ball is, because like Chi-Chi really and they portray this in a decently straightforward manner. Chi-Chi really is, through her efforts to manipulate Goku, kind of shooting herself in the foot financially, because she's relying on Goku, and it's just it is pretty interesting to think about. It's a good question to pose.
I really like Toyotaro's. I really do like Goku as a farmer with the farming outfit on as a Super Saiyan. He's got the black wife beater on underneath. I actually kind of wish like Goku used this. Like, it'd be cool to see Goku dressed like this more often. We only see it here. And
Right.
I do think it'd be kind of cool because he looks cool with that on, bro, with the
Yeah, I
belt
love
and like
that
the
outfit.
jacket. It's almost like Trunks. That's Trunks' clothes, except different colors.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Goku fits for sure.
Okay. Random Hero says Mangalorian is Z tier content. Hold on. If we were covering any other series,
That would be the worst tier you could get.
you
ever.
are burying us. If we were covering anything else, he'd be burying us.
Yeah.
But it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You're
I
fine.
got something stuck in my throat, bro. I don't know what's up with that. All right. And then Gabby says, I thought it was there. They used Dragon Ball 6 months later to erase people's memories of Boo. It was, but there was a mistranslation, if you remember, in the first episode. You're right, Gabby. You're absolutely right. And you know that because you got the right translation. But when that episode first came out, both on the Crunchyroll version and even the one that was subtitled by Batman Subs. Anybody remember Batman Subs? Prior to Crunchyroll, our only hope in getting Super Sub was Batman, which wound up being revealed as being Ken Ziro later on, who was decent at Japanese, although it wasn't his first language. But he did the best he could. So so shout outs to Batman Subs, bro. Only again, bro, I have to be careful with these Mangalorian streams because every time we do one of these streams for Super, I probably got 7 or 8 stories of what was going on back then in my life and in the community that I could just start telling people. Oh, because with the original manga, we weren't around in Japan when it was coming out. We lived through this, and many of people watching this now live through it. Now, how do you feel about this Toyotaro? This was not in the anime, but I liked it nonetheless. Toyotaro adding in fantasies of Goku fighting his greatest foes again. Now, the reason as to why this is not just a recap of Goku fighting Frieza is because when he fought Frieza in Super Saiyan, he didn't have his gi on. So that just, remember,
this is him. This
is him wanting to fight these guys again.
This serves multiple purposes.
Okay. Go for it, because this is not in the anime or the movie.
He is reminiscing about fighting his past opponents. I don't consider this image training because he's not really learning anything. Image training is like when you actually like learn something from your.
I think he's fantasizing.
He's more so like reminiscing and like I mean, it is kind of training, but he's not learning or gaining anything from it. If anything, he's just realizing that he's surpassed all of his previous opponents. And that's what this actually is kind of. This serves to show us that Goku, despite the fact that he, is a radish farmer, he's still at the top of his game. Like, he's still ridiculously strong. So it communicates to us, the reader, that. But also, part of the reason that within the first few pages of the manga, Toyotaro drew this is, and this is something that we've talked about in previous streams, is because when Toyotaro was hired as a promotional artist, the way that they determined that they were going to do the super promotional manga is that it was going to be a battle manga, meaning that the way that it was formatted, the way that the actual manga, the way that the story is told, is completely different by Shueisha's demand.
Than the original Dragon Ball.
Shueisha is demanding that Toyotaro make Dragon Ball Super into a battle manga. It's not the same thing as what original. I mean, Dragon Ball is considered a battle manga, but because Toriyama was Toriyama, he loved story, and he loved, lore and plot and things of that nature. They were constantly having to fight against Toriyama's urge to do that type of thing, to try to make Dragon Ball into a battle manga. So during the Dragon Ball Z era, despite the fact that you could still kind of consider it a battle manga, because of Toriyama's prominence and his pull, he had the opportunity to tell more story and more freedom and more leeway to basically kind of do what he wanted, of course, with his editor's approval, in comparison to Toyotaro. Right off the bat, they told Toyotaro, they're like, this has to be a battle manga. Like, this has to be a battle-oriented manga. It has to be an action-oriented manga. So part of the reason that it jumps straight into Goku fighting all of his previous enemies within the first few pages is because that's kind of Toyotaro's way of, like, bringing fighting into the manga as quickly as humanly possible.
And also just to add to what you're saying, as we go through these volumes and these chapters, the Dragon Ball Super manga being monthly is also a different format from the original manga Dragon Ball, because the original Dragon Ball manga was about 10 to 12 pages a chapter. Super is like 40 to sometimes 50, a little bit less sometimes. And the reason as to why those things matter is because when you read the Dragon Ball Super manga, especially later on, it feels more like an episode of an anime than it does its own weekly manga. And that's done on purpose. Why do you think that when we had those early Toyotaro drafts come out a week before the manga would drop, it would always have a cliffhanger right before? It would say, find out the rest when the full issue comes out. And we would have two cliffhangers, one for the promotional pages and then one at the end of the chapter. That was done on purpose by design. And that's not the way the original Dragon Ball manga was put together at all. So it is, yes, the original Dragon Ball manga is the superior product. No one's denying that. But it's also unfair to compare it under certain circumstances. Yeah. I like how Goku says, you never know when someone's strong, when a strong enemy like Boo will show up, so always be ready. Maybe you should tell your other son that, bro. You should tell his other son that.
This right here is like underrated in terms of its importance, because Super as a product really plays on this idea of Goku doing selfish things for the sake of getting stronger and training and all of this stuff. And they are choosing to communicate this to you so early in the manga, so that way you know all the wild, crazy shit that you see Goku do in the Dragon Ball Super manga moving forward. In the back of his mind, despite the fact Goku still wants to get stronger and he still wants to improve as a martial artist, and that's like where his purity comes from, in the back of his mind, he also realizes that all the decisions that he makes in terms of like the sacrifices he makes to get stronger also serve to make sure that he is strong enough to make sure that the earth is not destroyed. So they make it very clear from the beginning of Super that, yes, despite the fact Goku's going to do some wild, crazy shit and make some crazy, selfish decisions, it's because Goku realizes that the only reason they've survived this entire time is because he's been so strong. If it wasn't for the fact that Goku has been as strong as he has, they would have died multiple times over, which creates this juxtaposition where Goku is having to constantly like choose getting stronger over logical, rational conclusions, which is very important.
Agreed. By the way, I do want to just highlight Yasha's comment. This is something that we can now look at in retrospect, because when this was first coming out, we didn't have a fucking clue about chapter 1 of. We didn't even think. Remember when this manga was first coming out, we didn't even think they were going to make it to 100. We weren't even sure if they were ever going to get to 100 chapters. So it is fun to look at this now that a lot of the story's been told. Okay, so now we have our first introduction to Lord Beerus. Once again, this is a lot closer to the anime version than the movie version, and that is Lord Beerus, people feeding him food, trying to get him not to destroy them, and well, Beerus blew him up anyways. And this whole thing,
he tried to poison them. They
yeah, no.
So
right,
I think this is interesting because,
and remember that Soup Dasai and God joke. I actually forgot about that till now.
So here's something I really like about this, because
this is anime, not movie.
This is something I really appreciate about how they introduced Beerus, because Beerus as a character, he's getting ready to be kind of portrayed as a villain in the sense that he's going to be a threat to Goku and Vegeta. But if you look at what actually happens here, they don't make Vegeta's destruction seem random, which is something that I really appreciate. Because
Vegeta's destruction? You mean Beerus' destruction?
Or yeah, Beerus' destruction. They don't make it seem random. They make it seem like it's essentially justified, because these insect alien creatures were actually trying to poison him. They were actually trying to kill him. So it kind of creates this idea within the story, like right away, that despite the fact that Beerus is a force of destruction, he's a force of necessary destruction. And that's a very, very important thing to remember, because a lot of people don't like really think about what Beerus is to Goku. They compare him to Vegeta all the time. They compare him to Vegeta all the time, and they're justified in that because he's a very, very Vegeta-like character. But all of Dragon Ball Z is Goku struggling to find some sort of merit or justification for destruction. That's literally like his entire struggle on Namek is him struggling to find justification for killing Frieza or Vegeta or any of the other characters. That he's always struggled with finding justification for destroying characters. And Beerus, right off the bat, it didn't take much. Like he like all it took, like right off the bat, he's like, no, you guys deserve to be destroyed. This is a necessity. Like you like this is a need. You guys are not a good species or a good race of people. I'm going to destroy you. So he is a like perfect counterbalance to like how Goku was portrayed in Dragon Ball Z prior to this. Goku didn't even want to kill Buu. Like he knew that Buu had so much potential. He was forced to kill Buu. Goku's always forced to kill all these characters, but in the back of his mind, he's like, "Ooh, if I could just savor this entity and squeeze as much potential out of them as I possibly can and make them into something greater than they ever could have been prior." That's where Goku's mindset's always been, is like, I want to like do everything I can to preserve this because I have a hard time justifying destroying other entities. So Beerus is like an ideological or like a philosophical representation of the necessity of destruction. It's basically like, it's basically like this idea that Goku has been struggling with throughout the entire previously established series. He struggled with that the entire series. Vegeta like kind of represented that in a similar way to Beerus, in terms of like teaching Goku the merit of wiping out your opponents when it's necessary. And so, but Beerus in that sense is a character who is created to mirror Goku in that sense, and that's something that a lot of people overlook about Beerus.
Yes, I did a little bit. I talked about this a little bit in my history of Beerus video. Goku and Beerus do have this weird sort of parallel philosophy in a way. They're both a juxtaposition and a counter to each other, but also a but also they have a lot of similarities. What do you say that maybe later this year we bring back Dragon Ball X Saiyuki? I think the best time would be right as Dragon Ball Super Beerus comes out, and we do a video looking at a deeper look at Goku versus Beerus, because that feud in and of itself needs another look, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That would be awesome.
Okay, I'm sending it to you now. I'm gonna pin it. I'm sending it to you because we have to put a pin in it till later this year.
Okay, sounds good.
We're not gonna get to do that for a while.
But yeah, I'll get more into that soon. Whenever Goku and Beerus start fighting, but I kind of wanted to just get into Beerus a little bit because I do really appreciate Beerus's character. He's one of my favorite. Beerus and Whis are my favorite modern Dragon Ball characters. Like the two of them combined are like my favorite new additions to modern Dragon Ball. So
I agree with you, although part of me still thinks that maybe he shouldn't have been made part of the main cast. I would have liked it better if he kind of stepped in and out of the story instead of him like always being there with Goku and them. I kind of wish it was done like that, but I love Beerus and Whis. So, and they're fun characters and they are very Toriyama characters. And that's why I think that although the original Battle of Gods seemed like a cool movie, right? Yeah, it did seem like some cool ideas there. I really like, as a fan of Toriyama, I like and appreciate what he did with the Beerus character and the addition of Whis. I think it's a different dynamic. So yeah, in the anime version, he killed them because the food was mid. In this version, he tried to poison them. He blew them up, which already establishes him as not really being a villain. In the movie version, of course, he woke up from his sleep and so on and so forth. Here we have Mr. Satan trying to give Goku some money. Goku declines it. It's the same thing that happened in the anime. Not too much to break down here. And then basically, this is the part.
It just kind of reflects Goku's character a little bit. You know, it's just some characterization for Goku, really.
Yeah, and you covered it earlier. Yeah. There's a lot for us to cover, and we got to zip through it. But I mean, we already went over this earlier when we talked about Goku accepting the money and that whole like Bulma being the richest woman. So this conversation with Whis and Beerus in the movie version, he had a dream. He woke up, and then the Oracle Fish told him, the Oracle Fish had told him before about this Super Saiyan God, and now we have, like, again, more towards the anime version. Beerus tells Whis, like, Super Saiyajin Godo. Now, one of the things I always found fun about this is the word God in Japanese is kami, but it's not called Super Saiyajin Kami. It's Super Saiyajin Godo, which is the Japanese approximation of the English word God. Toriyama often will take English words. Instead of using the Japanese word, he'll use English words instead of Japanese words to explain, to like give things more flair. For example, Vegeta's moves, Big Bang Attack. That's an English, it's a Japanese accent of an English word. Fainaru Furash. These are English words that have been used. He's not like using the Japanese equivalent, like the translation. He's just.
It would blow your mind. It would blow your mind how instrumental Toriyama was in sort of merging Western culture with Japanese culture.
Oh, you don't have to tell me, bro. I'm the one that did the video explaining to people that the reason why Dragon Ball is so popular is because it has culture from all over the world, including the West.
Right. It would blow your mind. It would blow your mind how much Toriyama introduced Japanese culture to Western culture. Like, it would blow your mind. Like, he's very instrumental in that.
We got to talk about this controversy. We have to, because we're not going to get a chance to talk about this again. I've covered this on the Super Magic Show. I'm about to cover it with you guys. Here we have a fused Supreme Kai and Kibito. Now, let me pull up the image, because if I don't have this image pulled up, it's not going to. Now, those of you already kind of know where I'm going with this. Okay.
Right.
Once again, this is Battle of Gods based on the anime, which is based on the movie that Toriyama wrote, but he didn't actually draw new designs when they were making the film, with the exception of Beerus, Whis, and Super Saiyan God. If we look at Akira Toriyama's original, this is Toriyama's poster for Battle of Gods when the movie was coming out. Not only do we have a blue-haired Trunks, but we have the Supreme Kai right there already unfused. But wait a minute. Dragon Ball Daima created a plot hole. Yes, it did. It did create a plot hole to everyone except Akira Toriyama and the people that know about this image. Toriyama never intended for them to unfuse during Universe 6. He only intended it to happen he probably didn't intend for it to happen in Daima, but clearly based on this image, he ain't fused anymore, bro.
Right.
I'm just saying, you want to talk about canon? Canon? What's canon? Canon? There is no canon. There is no canon. Chapter 2. Now, we see our first look at Oracle Fish. Really wouldn't have a big role here. And then we have where the movie actually begins, which is Goku on Kaio's planet, although it's a little bit different. This is where another thing here was, and this is another line that caused a lot of controversy, is Beerus saying he wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, because it implies
when we see dinosaurs in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, they're there. Gohan's like fighting one and shit. So, and then Beerus tells him, the guy who beat Frieza, a Saiyan beat Frieza? All stuff that we kind of know. Beerus goes to Earth to confront. Goku's training is a little bit different here than it was in the anime or the.
Yeah, he's using Kachin. He's dragging Kachin metal behind him, which is.
I'm a fan of that reference. This is our first look at Beerus's homeworld in the manga, because they go there. So, all right. So the idea of the God of Destruction, Beerus being awakened, freaks out all the Kais, Supreme Kai, Kai-Osama, everyone, and then Beerus and Whis appear and they want to fight Goku. And then we have Beerus versus Goku. Now, I've been told that the Dragon Ball Super Beerus version of this fight is going to be significantly better than the anime version. For those of you who don't remember, the anime version of episode 5 collapsed. It was horrible. Yeah. Everybody says it sucked. Manga version was much better. However, Goku busts out. This is what he says here. Don't underestimate me. Let me show you my strongest form, Super Saiyan 3. Now, it's fun looking at this 10 years later, isn't it? 11 years later. Daima takes place before Super, but it was written after Super. Now, I'm 100% certain that Toriyama never planned on having Super Saiyan 4 ever be a thing in Super. And I'm 100% certain, because I'm the one that said this, that Daima was created so that Akio can bring back Super Saiyan 4 for all the fans of Super Saiyan 4. But he's saying that it's his strongest form. So either in Dragon Ball Super Beerus, I was told the fight is better. I was not told anything about Super Saiyan 4 being in it. That does not mean it won't be in it. I'm just saying I wasn't told anything about whether or not it'd be in it. But if it is, now we have a fourth Battle of Gods retelling that contradicts the other three. Well, really not so much the first one, because I don't think Goku says it's his strongest form. Because remember, in Battle of Gods, the movie, Goku goes right into Super Saiyan 3 and Beerus smacks him around. In the anime and manga, he goes 1, 2, 3.
Right.
I'm just giving people information because, man, this is...
Yeah, it's very easy to create
crazy.
Contradictions if you're not careful with these stories. It's
if you're going out of order.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Or, yes, and that's... I just said that, but I think you're a little bit... There's some lag. There might be some lag because I literally just explained this. So yes, Magan, you are correct. You are correct on that. But Super Saiyan 4, they might add it, they might not. I think it would just be easier to explain why Super Saiyan 4 was not used again. And that I think would be helpful. So, you know, so they're sensing the fight. And then here we have, it was not like this for the anime version. Toyotaro chose to introduce Champa and Vados here with the benefit of hindsight, because he already knew where they were going with the next story. I actually like this. There was no way that this would have happened if it was just Toriyama and he was doing it from beginning, middle, and end like he did the original manga. There's no way this would have happened. This is the benefit of hindsight. This is the benefit of Toyotaro already knowing who Champa was before he ever drew any of this. Because if you remember, Champa was first revealed in the initial promo art for Dragon Ball Super, where it was Beerus, and as we called him back then, Fat Beerus, which was the Universe 6 Beerus. We did not know anything about this character until later on. In fact, his first appearance was at the end of the Resurrection F arc, right?
Yeah.
Episode 27.
Yep.
So, how about we say this, Abdullah? There is no canon. How about that? How about we say what I've been saying, bro? Instead of, oh, it was a side story, it's a spinoff. Well, it is a spinoff, objectively. That's what it is. But how about we say there's no canon? How about that?
Yeah, it doesn't.
You can't accept that one, can you? No, but anyways, here we have, I'm fucking with you. Here we have, even though it's true, here we have Goku and Beerus. He can't land a hit on him. And then, of course, he flicks Goku away, which is what happened in the movie. I was happy with that. I love this art right here from Toyotaro, bro. Toyotaro freaking.
The way he drew
great
Super Saiyan 3 when Goku first transforms into it, I think is the best.
Right here?
That is the best Super Saiyan 3 he drew in this manga. The rest of it looks kind of weird.
I think that him getting flicked is my favorite, because look at how he did the damage. Like
I just mean the way he drew Super Saiyan 3 looks really good. Like, okay, for example, go up. You see the way he drew his hair in that top right panel?
Yeah, it looks weird. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, you see how it goes straight back and it's big old spikes. That's not how you draw Super Saiyan 3. He did the best job drawing it in that initial panel. It looks the most like how Toriyama drew it. The rest of this is kind of.
Do you think he traced it? Remember, he got caught doing it.
I think sometimes he snaps and he does a good job, and then other times he's kind of falls short.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that. So basically, Beerus is like, do Super Saiyan God, and he's like, I don't know what the hell that is, and so that's it. And then this is where he says, "This is my final form. There's no more transformations after this." I think it's fun to look back on this. And I want to say this about this whole canon, not canon bullshit, okay? One last thing. There are contradictions even in the original manga. I think a lot of the so-called contradictions, I think Jordan and I have stamped out with the previous Mangalorian. There's a lot of non-contradictions that fans see as contradictions. But the original manga does have contradictions. However, a contradiction or a plot hole does not make something canon or not canon, because a lot of stories, especially ones that have been as old and as long as Dragon Ball, are gonna have plot holes. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying it's difficult for a discovery writer like Toriyama to keep track of everything. So again, don't take these things so seriously. Just have a good time with it. Here, Beerus he chops Goku. Down he goes, just like the movie, and out. So Super Saiyan 3.
Josh said it's like a cat playing with a new toy. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what Toriyama is literally using the characteristics, the character traits of a cat, and using and implementing that within the story to characterize Beerus, which is pretty cool.
I like this comment a lot, bro. Shout outs to you, bro. You put a smile on my face. And then we have another shot of Champa and Vados, and now they're chasing Beerus around to see just what the hell he's doing. All right, so now we're gonna move to the Earth stuff. This is the bingo stuff wasn't used in the manga but I don't think it was. But here is like Toyotaro's little tribute to it. So Goku got laid out. Here we have the Capsule Corp Cruiser, which is of course anime adaptation.
Gohan is in his ultimate form in this version too. That's worth pointing out.
Well, either that or in his base form.
He got wrecked.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing though. Like, look at this. Okay, so in the movie there was all that other stuff, like Beerus shows up and the Pilaf gang and all that stuff. Even the anime version had some of that stuff. Toyotaro cuts right to the chase. Beerus is on Earth and he's fucking everybody up. That's it. Like,
it's a battle manga. You can't, like I said, that comes back to what I initially said. Toyotaro was not allowed to do whatever he wanted with this. It's promotional. It's, it's supposed to be battle oriented. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that gets skipped. And that's the reason that when we were talking about earlier, I think he covered, for the most part, the relevant plot points.
I would say the bullet points of the story. Yeah, I would agree with you.
But I will say there is some like nuanced stuff that gets lost in the sauce. I mean,
also I think Beerus breakdancing and loving food, that is Toriyama writing to the core. And like you said earlier in this stream, and I'm so happy you said it and not me. Toyotaro had limitations. All right, cut to the chase on that. If there's another limitation we have to talk about too, because again, if you weren't around back then, if you were not around back then, you wouldn't know this. Jordan, you probably remember this. If Toyotaro would have adapted the anime version of Battle of Gods, scene by scene, or even half the scenes, the Battle of Gods arc would have been 7 volumes.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like a part of one.
Yep. That's the reason that you can tell just by looking at the product and consuming it that this is promotional. You can just tell. Like, it's very easy to pick up on that. Like,
right, but it's not just that. It's that I think a lot of folks forgot that this is how the manga began. Like, it started being like this. Elmex, which is better, anime or movie or more fun? That's up to you, man. I do not like the anime versions of Battle of Gods. I prefer the movie. I've always liked the movie the most. We'll see what they do with Dragon Ball Super Beerus later this year. That is obviously, we don't know yet, but yeah. So here we have Gotenks, who in the movie got spanked, and that was one of my favorite scenes ever. And Beerus just, it's a little different, but not quite the same. He spins him around and then spanks him. And Piccolo, he's already, basically, there's no introduction. There's nothing like that. There's no Whis enjoying sushi, none of that. In fact, you wouldn't even know Beerus is a fan of food yet. Go ahead, sorry.
This scene with Vegeta and Beerus is ridiculously important.
Okay, talk about it. You have the floor.
So, one thing I really appreciate about Beerus, and particularly how they've implemented him as Super has unfolded, is that he becomes a measuring stick for not only Vegeta, but also Frieza. And what I mean by that is, so Vegeta, during his initial character introduction, okay, he is a character who enjoys destroying people. That's like he's basically kind of like Beerus is just kind of like a more OP justified version of what Vegeta initially was. And Frieza's the same way. Frieza and Vegeta are very, very similar in that they actually enjoy killing their opponents. Like, they actually do meaningfully enjoy it, right? And Vegeta as a character and King Vegeta as a character are portrayed a very particular way by the anime staff and by Toriyama. Vegeta, according to Toriyama and Ioku, they were always trying to portray him as a character who, despite the fact that he still had, he was spoiled as a prince, he retained an essence of what the Saiyans' original pride was. They don't say that he had the essence of what the original pride of the Saiyans was, but he retained something akin to it, is what they say in the interviews. So This is essentially, because you have to remember, the reason that Vegeta doesn't care about Planet Vegeta is because the Saiyans as a species did not meet up. They didn't meet his expectations. And this is essentially Vegeta at a very early age having to come to terms with the fact that his father did not meet his expectations. Him seeing Beerus, like, completely humiliate his father is Vegeta learning at a very young age that despite the fact that his father talks about Saiyan pride so much and tries to teach it to everyone, he is not a good example of it himself. In fact, Beerus in this scene is a better example of what Vegeta would like to be than his father. So in some sense, this is kind of the plot establishing Beerus as a goalpost for Vegeta. Like Beerus is kind of like what Vegeta is striving to become in some sense. He's looking at something that he would like to be. He would like to have this sort of dominance, this sort of power,
Correct.
this sort of justification in his ability to run around, boss people around, destroy things, on a whim. Like Beerus is like a representation, a true representation of what Vegeta always thought the Saiyans were supposed to be, even more so than his father. So this scene is ridiculously important in that sense because it's Vegeta realizing at a young age that not only that his father didn't meet up his expectations, but that Beerus as a concept and as a character was a better example of what Vegeta was striving to be than King Vegeta himself. So it's a very important scene.
I guess I was frozen earlier. Did you see me frozen?
No, but you're not frozen right now.
Okay, so I guess if I freeze again, y'all let me know. Thank you for that. Magan says you can tell later on Toyotaro had more freedom by the time Trunks Universe 6, if I remember correctly, with more story. Well, no, you're right and you're wrong. Not Universe 6, that's coming up here. We're gonna get to that today because that's in Volume 1. People forget that's in Volume 1. But Trunks, yes, and that's because of a man by the name of Akira Toriyama being more involved in the manga at that point. So Toriyama, in many ways, did open the door for Toyotaro, and that's probably why Toyotaro is so humbled of him, because he not only did he get to write Dragon Ball, but do it with Toriyama before he passed away. That's a big deal. Do you know how many manga? Listen, all due respect to Eiichiro Oda and all these legendary manga authors that came after Toriyama, Toyotaro's the only one that can say that he worked with Toriyama on some of his final projects. And that is a big deal if you're a mangaka in Japan. Toyotaro probably looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, how the hell did my life turn into this? In a good way. In a good way. You know what I mean?
No, he definitely does. He definitely does.
So here we have the My Bulma scene.
Toyotaro's life is like a movie. Like it's almost unrealistic. Like the fact that he like idolized Toriyama at a young age and then went to college to be a movie director and then ended up basically getting the exact career that he had always wanted and meeting his idol and getting to work directly with him. That's something out of a movie. That's not realistic. That doesn't normally happen in real life. Most people don't normally get those types of opportunities. So he was definitely very blessed. That's for sure.
Yes. As far as them changing Kid Vegeta design and DBS Beerus, I don't know, man. They could go either way with it. They might not even have that scene in DBS Beerus. I don't know. Like they might just cut that whole thing out. Like we don't know. Remember, it's 6 episodes. So here's the My Bulma scene. Vegeta powers up. No Super Saiyan 3. I went over that in my Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta history of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta explain video. Of course, in the anime version, Vegeta, the fight's a tiny bit longer. Vegeta goes in, but he just has no chance against Beerus. He does connect him with a blow on Beerus, which Goku could not do. And then of course, he tries to blast Beerus. He just gives him a lot. But and here we have, this is basically, bro, what I found trippy about this is it's basically a Gallic gun, even though like it has the Final Flash hands, but the Gallic gun colors. but really it looks like Trunks' move when he kills Imperfect Cell, when the finishing buster or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called. I think finishing buster is the other one. But either way, he blasts Beerus and he does better than Gotenks and better than Ultimate Gohan. Of course, it's not enough. I mean, they're all like, oh, look, and then bam, this scene, we got to talk about this one. Okay. This scene was not in Dragon Ball Super, the anime, or Battle of Gods, the movie. But if you go back to the promotional early Dragon Ball Super anime commercials, does anyone remember that there was a scene that never made it to Super where Beerus and Champa are face to face on the Kai's planet, or on Beerus's planet with the purple background, where Beerus and Champa are face to face? It was animated by Yamamuro. It never made it to the final. Does anybody remember this? We're going back 11 years. Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember it. Yes.
You remember when they're like, there was the Kai next episode music, and it showed it was like with the, you know, and it was like Dragon Ball Super, and then they showed that one quick scene, then went away.
Yep.
So, yes. So this is basically giving us context for who these people are, Beerus and Champa, and like, you know, they were. I love the fact that they're being watched, and they know they're being watched because they're hired deities.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Love that. That was a nice touch.
Far Too Sega for You said, "Oh right, wouldn't Beerus and his mentor Whis invading Earth be a parallel to Vegeta and his mentor Nappa, but with a better relationship?" That's one way of looking at it, but this is something that a lot of people don't think about, is the fact that Goku became Nappa's replacement. Nobody thinks about that. Like, nobody ever takes the time to think about the fact that Vegeta spent all that time with Nappa. He was like his little, you know, henchman, side guy. And the person that would ultimately end up replacing Nappa as like the guy that's next to Vegeta's side all the time is Goku. Like, so I would say it's more so a parallel to, it is very similar to when Vegeta showed up with Nappa, but it's almost like if Vegeta showed up as a good guy with Goku, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's Vegeta he comes off that guy who likes working alone. You know what I mean? Especially even in the Android saga, bro. He's like, leave me alone, I'll handle this. Leave me alone, I'll handle this. And but Goku becomes like, especially later on, especially in Super, like his partner. Here, Beerus realizes that Vegeta is not the Super Saiyan God, and then bam, Goku warps in just in time. And here we are, Chapter 4, Battle of Gods. So we now have the Battle of the Gods. It's coming. So what happens is, and
Nappa, I love that comment.
Toyo, damn, bro, that's cold-blooded. That's cold-blooded. So Toyotaro goes into this rather quickly, and Shenlong answers the question of how to make Super Saiyan God. And then we find out, now notice this, in the movie, it's this big emotional scene where Vidal's like, there is a 6 Saiyan, I'm pregnant. And it's this really emotional, powerful scene. Toyotaro sums, this whole thing in the movie was like about 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 8 minutes of the movie, 3 panels. Like, fuck it. Yep, she's pregnant. Let's go. God.
Right.
2 panels later, God. Like, get it. Get to the point. Get to the point. Like you said, battle manga. It's written very much like I don't want to say like an ADD type of thing, but it's definitely written with a faster pace. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So Goku and Beerus, you know, please don't destroy the Earth if I win. Beerus says, okay. Nobody else can beat me, so but I'll agree to that. And then Beerus and Goku fight. Now, some of this stuff Toyotaro borrowed from the Battle of Gods movie. Some of it he borrowed from the anime, and some he did himself. Early on, it's kind of like Goku's trying to get used to the new form and the new power.
Yeah, that's something we have to talk about, actually.
Right now or in a bit?
We can just talk about it as the manga is unfolding, but I do think the whole key control thing is something that I would really like to talk about and hammer home, because it's something that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the modern era of Dragon Ball. Because here's the thing. A lot of fan writers, for example, when they're trying to make Goku and Vegeta stronger, all they do is give them more energy, whether it be a transformation or whatever. Like most fan writers, because they don't have a preconceived notion of these actual concepts, they just think of Dragon Ball as this very simple product, and so they just give Goku and Vegeta some power up that gives them more energy, and that's what makes them stronger. That is not how Toriyama looks at Ki. That is not how he looks at it. It may seem like that's how he looks at it, but that's not how he looks at it. Once we get into Super, the priority becomes controlling your ki. It is not building up more ki. Okay. And there's a reason for that. And that's because, and Toriyama has talked about this in an interview, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of ki if you can't use it effectively, because you can't use your power to its fullest extent if you cannot control your ki correctly. Meaning that there is a correlation between ki control and getting stronger. Okay. If you have better control over your ki, that also makes you stronger. Okay. So it's similar to what happens to when they power up or to when they transform. It makes them stronger in that sense, but it makes them stronger as a side effect of having better control over their energy. In the Dragon Ball Super era, that became the priority. It's not necessarily just getting stronger. It's controlling your energy and that making you stronger, okay? And that is why Super Saiyan God is consistently getting stronger against Beerus, is because Goku is getting better control of his energy as he's fighting, and that's making Super Saiyan God itself physically stronger. Now, something I just wanted to acknowledge, because this is a very, very common misconception, is that, and you know, Goku absorbing the God power and all that stuff, of course, it's something that happens more later in the manga. But what a lot of people don't understand about Goku absorbing the God power, okay, in the first section of Dragon Ball, is that Goku, particularly in the anime, when they show Goku in Super Saiyan and he's
very different.
Like, when they show Goku in Super Saiyan and he's like, oh, you've absorbed the battle power of Super Saiyan God, Goku is not using the full power of Super Saiyan God in that state.
Especially in the movie.
He is not. He's in Super Saiyan and he's absorbed the power, but power scalers screw this up all the time, because they just immediately think, oh, Super Saiyan Goku is as strong as Super Saiyan God Goku. Correct. Isn't even consistently one strength. It gets stronger as Goku is getting better control of his energy. Okay.
Can I add one quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just quickly. I'm not going to stop you because you're on a roll. This is why I prefer the movie to the anime. I'll tell you why. In the movie, when he does the freaking destruction ain't my thing, I want to destroy my world. And he goes into Super Saiyan, he blitzes Beerus.
Yeah.
He gets into space and Beerus basically chucks the sun at him. And if you remember, Goku's trying to deflect it, and then he can't. Then bam, the power of the God surges back into him. He goes back into Super Saiyan God and absorbs Beerus's sun blast. This does not happen in the anime, and it does not happen in the manga. But this is why Toriyama's script made the most sense, because clearly right there they're telling us that Super Saiyan Goku with even a little bit of God Ki is definitely stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku at the beginning of the movie. Right. But he's not a full power of a god. When he uses the God power to absorb Beerus's blast, which was made up of God Ki, and Beerus is like, how'd you do that? He's like, I don't know. Like, that whole sequence makes so much more sense. I'm sorry, but Battle of Gods, the movie, is always going to be the one that makes the most sense. I'm sorry. I know people want to argue that. I'll debate anybody on this, bro. Toriyama's writing of the movie makes the most sense. Continue.
Well, the last thing that I wanted to acknowledge is because this is the most common misconception. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, when Goku is using regular Super Saiyan and he's so much stronger, people think it's because he absorbed the God power alone, and it's not.
Well, he's
It's
also
because
raging out.
well, no, it's also the progress that he made controlling his energy while he was in Super Saiyan God also applies to when he's in Super Saiyan. Meaning he got so much better at controlling his energy in Super Saiyan God that he's taking that experience and it's making him even stronger in Super Saiyan.
They
Now,
did.
later on in ROF, when Super Saiyan Blue is first introduced, Goku does not say that this is Super Saiyan with God Ki. That is not what he says. He says this is a Super Saiyan
Tell
with
him.
the power
Tell
of
him.
a Super Saiyan God. Okay,
That's it.
and the reason,
Brother, you know
and
how
the,
many times I had to correct that one in 2015? Oh,
and the reason that is so important is because that line tells you that the Super Saiyan Goku from Battle of Gods is not using the full power of Super Saiyan God, because Super Saiyan Blue is a Super Saiyan using the full power of Super Saiyan God. That is literally the plot telling you that Super Saiyan God Goku from Battle of Gods is not a Super Saiyan using the battle power of a Super Saiyan God. It's not. That is what Super Saiyan Blue is, okay? And this is something that people get wrong all the time, especially power scalers, because they think that like Super Saiyan Goku is like, Goku using the battle power of Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan, and that is not true. It's just not true at all. It's literally like misinformation. Unless you see Goku using Super Saiyan Blue, he is not using the energy control technique necessary to fully tap into the battle power of Super Saiyan God to tap into Super Saiyan Blue. That was the purpose of his training with Whis, which we didn't get in the manga, unfortunately.
and
But
that's
like,
why it's called Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, because that's
right,
literally the name of the
exactly.
Toriyama wrote that down, bro.
Exactly. But I just wanted to get into that because that is
Well, we'll
like
talk
some
more
of,
about that later because we're not done talking about that. Because remember,
yeah,
the
that's
manga
some of the
does
most,
something with red and blue that the anime did not.
that's something that it's one of the most common forms of misinformation I've seen. So I see. So I just really wanted to acknowledge it. So.
That's fair. Elmec said this stuff kind of complicated. Okay, I understand that, and that's something I want to make clear. When Jordan and I say, when I can't really speak for you, but I think I will speak for you. And if I'm wrong, tell me. It's not this when we explain these things, it's not this like that I think that you're dumb or that Jordan thinks you're dumb. It's that there's a lot of misinformation out there and
Yeah.
people read it without bothering to go back and check the material that's based off of, because people get confused about shit.
Yeah,
If you want to,
and there's an incentive to put out misinformation for money online. That's something a lot of people don't understand as well. A lot of these accounts that Danny sees that he debunks on his channel who are putting out misinformation, they're doing it because they're making ad revenue. that's the reason they're doing it. A lot of the people
Screen
that
Rant and
a lot of people that Danny debunks and goes after, they're not putting out information in good faith. They're putting out information to misinform you. So,
but I will tell you this, LMX, if Jordan's explanation, rewind the stream if you have to hear it again later on, or if you go to the Geekdom 101 YouTube channel, which you're on it because you're a YouTube person here. And if you're watching us on X, check out the Geekdom 101 YouTube channel and Jordan the Dragon Lee. We have check us out. Just punch in either of our names on YouTube and we'll be there. Subscribe to both channels. But I have a video called Understanding God Forms in Dragon Ball. I think it's called Dragon Ball Super God Forms Explained or something like that. And I also have Super Saiyan God Explained, Super Saiyan Beyond God Explained, which is Resurrection F's thing, and then Super Saiyan Blue Explained. So we do have videos on the channel from years ago in the Transformation Guide series. In fact, you should go and just watch all the transformation guides. That way you have everything. Kiryu says power scalers are a plague in this fandom. We should just old yeller them. Okay, I disagree with you, dude, because look, people spreading misinformation. There's lots of people in this fandom that spread misinformation who are not power scalers.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
it's not exclusive to power scalers. It's people who purposely push misinformation. There are power scalers who are good at what they do.
There's tons that are good. I work with Chuck, and I would never say Chuck is a bad power scaler.
There's probably some that are ridiculously good that aren't that popular, you know. So
like SSJ Ryu.
Yeah, it's not really hate towards power scalers that I have, although I'm guilty of being like, oh, freaking power scalers. Like, I'm guilty of that. But there is nuance to it. It's more so people. There's also people who have this really weird, and this is probably the type of person that he's referencing, this really weird childlike mentality where it's like my character has to be stronger than yours to the point that I'll make up bullshit to make it seem as though my character is like way stronger than your character. Like that's a big thing in the Superman versus Goku thing. There's a lot of like immature people like that who aren't necessarily doing it for misinformation's sake to make money. It's even worse. They have like this weird emotional attachment towards these characters being as powerful as they are. So it's a very nuanced thing.
Right. So I like the fight here in the city. Then they go out to the mountains. It kind of goes everywhere. And then they finally go into space. Notice that the scene from the film was not in the anime or the manga version. The one that Jordan had talked about where Goku goes Super Saiyan underground. And then they fight up and you have that awesome Sheeta cut. Another reason why the movie version's the best. So, and we have Kimi Got Hero, not Kimi Got Hero, Flo's Hero playing, which is a great song. They go out into space. Now, people have said, I remember there was this whole video that somebody made about, well, this fight between Goku and Beerus is not in space, it's in the atmosphere. Brother, I don't know what science class y'all fucking like skipped when you were in high school, but okay. Look, y'all. Look, take a good look at this. Okay. See this white line here, right above where see the little white wavy line there? That's the atmosphere. This is not the atmosphere. This is in space, friends. Okay. People were trying to say this. It
literally says right there, Earth's stratosphere.
Yeah, but they're above it. They're above it. They're going above the
atmosphere. They're above the atmosphere. They're not above the stratosphere. The stratosphere.
They are. I don't think I disagree with you about the interpretation of that panel. I think they started in the stratosphere and they're moving past it.
Well, the stratosphere is just the layer between zero oxygen and the amount of oxygen that we have. Like it's basically like the pocket. It's like the happy pocket between, like you could appear to be
further down.
No, you could appear to be in space and still be in the stratosphere.
I don't know. I feel like at the speed they're going to, man, like it feels like it's past that, like just based on like their speed and, you know, and also at this point they're even higher up. So maybe they were in this panel, but then by this panel they weren't. I mean, either way, it ain't the atmosphere. And then now Beerus starts to create these little balls, which we kind of saw this. So this right here is like a mixture of the anime and the movie. It's in the movie, he makes the big orange one. Here it's like a purple one, but in the anime, he had the little, like, remember the little orbs that he made, which I think he made more of them. Like in Beerus, the upcoming remake or whatever. And then here he makes one giant one, and then this is where
I love this scene.
This right here is very similar to the one from the movie where Goku says, "I'm sorry, Lord Beerus, I can hear it. The power of Super Saiyan God is telling me stronger. My power can still get stronger than this."
Yeah, that is not only the story telling you that Super Saiyan God itself can get stronger if Goku can further learn chi control, which is what he does whenever he trains with Whis after this. It's basically telling you once he learns to control his ki even more, Super Saiyan God will be that much more powerful. So that's a very important distinction. But it's not only telling you that, it's also telling you that the spirit of Yamoshi himself is literally like speaking to Goku.
I was actually gonna debunk that. I don't know.
You're gonna debunk it?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Toriyama did not reveal Yamoshi until 2017, bro. I was way.
Well, yeah,
after
but
this.
it's still the spirit of the Super Saiyan God. It doesn't have to be Yamoshi.
Like, I see what you. Okay, I see what you mean now. Okay,
Yeah.
You're saying the Super Saiyan God before he was named Yamoshi.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not.
I thought you
I'm
were
saying,
implying that this was Yamoshi speaking to him, which
no,
it
no, no,
is
no,
if
no,
you're
no.
talking about the Super Saiyan God, but the name Yamoshi and the backstory didn't get revealed till 2 years later. That's what you're talking about. Okay,
In
yeah.
Battle
I
of
know what you
God,
mean.
in Battle of Gods, in the movie, actually, the way that they portray Goku becoming a Super Saiyan God is very, very different. You actually see it's so interesting. I love watching it because it's one of the most spiritual things they've shown off in Dragon Ball. So when they create their energy, okay, when they create like the energy that they're putting into Goku, there's this scene where the energy leaves Goku, and this doesn't happen in other iterations of the story. They do not show this. There's a scene where the energy leaves Goku, goes up into space, absorbs something, and then comes back down and goes into Goku.
You're talking about in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes from the bottom up. I talked about that earlier when he absorbed. And it was also blue in the theatrical trailer. It was blue, and that's another thing that people forget.
They literally
Again, folks,
show his energy go up into space and come back down with the spirit of the Super Saiyan God. Like they can't make it any more clear than it actually is. Like they make the ritual seem much more like magic in the movie than just like ki going into Goku. It does like the other iterations of it. It just seems like they're powering him up, but in the original iteration of it, it actually seems like an actual ritual where they're summoning the spirit of the Super Saiyan God, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm not saying that this is. I'm not saying that they're saying that this is Yamoshi here, like during this era. I'm just saying Goku is talking about how the spirit of he's saying the power. Yeah, I can hear the power of the Super Saiyan God. It's telling me that I can get stronger. Basically, what he's saying is that there's a voice in my head telling me that this is not all Super Saiyan God has.
But how do we know that's not just his body getting more and more used to it, figuring out that, wait a minute, this tank is not on E, there's still some left. That could also be what's going on.
Well,
he learned more about the force before he used it.
It could be, but the fact that he's saying that the power of Super Saiyan God is telling me, and not that I feel like I can just get stronger. That's very specific wordage. That's very specific verbiage. Like they could easily have him say, Beerus, I think I can keep getting stronger. Let's keep going. But that's not what they say. They say
in the anime. I think he said that. I think in the anime he said
here they say I can hear it. He is literally
right. It's different. Yes,
he can hear. Feeling that you can get stronger and hearing something are two very different things.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you, we're going to get back to this here in just a minute. I want to ask you a bit of didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Bit of a controversial question. Okay. And I want you to be honest with me. We may disagree on this, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Based upon the original, I guess I don't want to say canon, but the original way that Super Saiyan God was introduced in Battle of Gods, I want you to isolate Battle of Gods from the rest of Super, meaning let's not think about Resurrection F yet, but we will in a minute, or even Ultra Instinct. Do you think that as Super progressed, and this is something that we'll talk about, I'll give you my opinion in a minute. Do you think that as Super kept going, we discovered Blue, and then we had, of course, the Blue Evolution stuff, the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue thing, which is not really a form, but we sort of had higher levels, and then we have Ultra Instinct. Do you think that the deep spiritual, a very deity-esque vibe of Super Saiyan God was reduced with the later forms? Do you know what I mean by that? Does that
I do know
make
what
sense
you
to
mean.
you?
I know what you mean. Basically, what you're saying is when they created Super Saiyan God, they created with the intention of portraying it as deity-like and very godly, and then
And
as
it was the last form. There was no
I would
indication
say,
of anything else.
I would say that all forms suffer from this, including Super Saiyan. I do agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I do agree with you that it made it look less godly. I do agree with that. But, and we talked about this in the Mongolian when we covered Goku on Namek fighting Frieza. Piccolo literally compares Goku to a god on Namek. Like all the way back.
We did cover that.
All the way back during Dragon Ball Z. Like they were trying to portray Super Saiyan as something godlike. Like all the way back then. So I think that, particularly with Dragon Ball, all forms tend to suffer from this because what's godlike to one being or to one set of fighters or characters or whatever is not godly to the next.
And everything's
right.
No, because I did feel like Super Saiyan God. I think Super Saiyan God was presented very different from everything else that we had gotten in Dragon Ball up until that point, including the older forms, including the GT stuff. I think when Battle of Gods, the way that they the presentation of Super Saiyan God, the buildup, the actual aura, the look of it, Goku's attitude, the way that he absorbed all the stuff that we're talking about, right, from the movie and later the other adaptations, I think it does lose some speciality. It does lose its charm a bit later on. Now, they found ways of making it interesting, especially in the manga, and we'll get to that. But I do feel like Super Saiyan God, I think it feels less important the more. I think Ultra Instinct probably still feels that way because he's still using it, even though he's getting better at it with Moro and Granola.
Ultra Instinct is the one form I think that they'll never remove that factor from. It'll always feel like the most godly thing ever.
How do you feel about what they did in Granola, though? And we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't go too deep. We're going to get there when we get to the volume. But
yeah, I know
how he uses UI in Super Saiyan God, because that's another thing that we saw in the manga that we did not see in the anime, at least not yet.
Yeah,
maybe we'll see it in a couple of years.
I love that. I do think that it helps make the form seem more relevant. I think that helped. I do. This John Myers guy said to be fair, Super Saiyan God looks like a fire element Super Saiyan transformation. That's just because the way that they portray that much concentrated energy is through fire. Like it's not necessarily meant to be like taken as like a fire elemental thing. It's just the more you concentrate energy, they have to make the art or the portrayal of that energy look different as they move into different levels of energy. So they just chose to go with the fiery look for Super Saiyan God because it's just that much more energy, like concentrated.
John Myers reminded me of something, bro. When Battle of Gods was coming out, IGN, IGN, the company that Toei sent after me in 2019 because they claimed I lied about Super, yada, yada, yada. I'll never forget in 2013, IGN was covering Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, right? And 2014, it was when the dub was coming out. And I remember they were like, we have our two big Dragon Ball Z experts. And it was this guy and this girl, right? Real ones will remember this. It was a guy and a girl. And they were talking about, let's react to the Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods trailer. And when they show Super Saiyan God, the girl goes, is this Super Saiyan Kaioken? What's that? Those are your experts, bro. Those are your experts. Is this Super Saiyan Kaioken?
Yeah.
They also said, there was another one. I think there was one where they said that Goku Super Saiyan 3 was actually Super Saiyan 2. Like, they made mistakes that real fans would never fucking make. And I'm like, those are your two experts, bro. It reminds me of that infamous episode of Nitro where the real Sting lays out the fake Sting and goes, this is your cheap imitation? I love that fucking line, bro.
So, just before because I know we're getting ready to get to the end.
We're actually not close to the end. Remember, the Universe 6 is about to start. At the end of this part,
I'm talking about the end of Battle of Gods.
Right. I want to zip through it a little bit faster, but go ahead, go for it.
This scene is very, very important for a multitude of reasons.
Kamehameha?
No, it is a parallel to Frieza destroying Namek, Planet Vegeta. Because if you remember, Frieza's about to destroy Planet Vegeta, and then Bardock comes up and tries to stop.
I see what you mean.
And Goku is fulfilling that role. But the difference is, and here's what's really interesting about this. So the job of a god of destruction, which is established later on in the series through Vegeta and Beerus, is to essentially push you on your ideology to your breaking point. That's what Beerus does with Vegeta. That's what Vegeta does with Granola. They essentially take whatever philosophy or ideology you have, and then they encourage you to egotistically push that to its limit. And if your dedication to your cause doesn't meet the God of Destruction standards, he'll destroy you. The entire reason that he hasn't destroyed Vegeta or anybody yet is because they continuously impress him in the sense that they're so dedicated to their cause. And so what makes this very, very interesting is that Goku as a character is the one character whose ideology and philosophy is essentially the backbone and it's the foundation of the entire series. It's the one philosophy and ideology that's actually encouraged or has been the one philosophy or ideology that has been encouraged up until this point. And up until we met Beerus, there was only one set of rules that would cause you to be the benefactor of the plot, and that was Goku's ideology. Bardock's ideology and the Saiyans' old ideology is meant to be like an example of what not to be, whereas what Goku is here as a martial artist is supposed to be an example of what you should be, right? Like he's essentially grown from the shortcomings of his ancestors. Now, what's very, very interesting about this is that Goku's ideology, because he's a martial artist, he has the one ideology that, because it's rewarded by the plot, that he has the one ideology that, despite the fact that the God of Destruction normally encourages you to be very egotistical, Goku survives this process. And this kind of comes back to, the whole thing in the anime where he tells him to like stop destroying destruction. And the thing that you like, Danny, where Beerus reveals to Goku that he does have a bit of an ego. We've talked about that previously as well.
I love that, bro. I love it.
Basically, this is the plot through Beerus and his job as a god of destruction, telling us that Goku's ideology is correct and that it has merit, and that his pride as a martial artist is something that the universe as a whole, because you have to remember, Beerus is a force of nature. He's a force of destruction. He's essentially an extension of the rules of the universe. This is essentially kind of the universe and the plot and the story approving and complimenting and pushing into our faces that Goku's ideology, in terms of him having pride as a martial artist, is justified and good within the narrative of Dragon Ball. And that's the reason that Beerus lets Goku live in comparison to like Frieza wiping out the Saiyans, because Frieza's fear of the Saiyans and their ideology is what Goku has grown from. That's the reason whenever Goku's like, you know what, Beerus, like you want, like if you really want to destroy the planet because you have proven to be philosophically superior, if you do want to destroy the Earth, like I've lost. Like basically that is a parallel to the Saiyans being so willing to screw over everybody and climb the ladder of survival of the fittest that they would, they would essentially like do anything they could to survive in any situation. Whereas Goku is like, you've bested me as a martial artist. You've bested me in terms of philosophy. You win. And that ends up being what saves him and Earth, is Beerus's respect for not only Goku's dedication to his ideology as a martial artist, but also the effect that has on Goku's interaction with Beerus in the end being like, you won fair and square. So this not only is very reflective of, the positive character traits that Goku has that are encouraged and like kind of thrown to the forefront of the story throughout Dragon Ball, but also it's the plot's way of telling us that like Goku is sort of justified in his approach. So
fair. I mean, you know, in the movie he absorbed it, and Beerus was like, "Hey," in this version he does the Kamehameha, which is the signature move. In the movie he did one too, but it was different. It was when he was in the gold hair, and they didn't even do any of that here, which I think that the Dragon Ball Super Beerus may also be getting rid of that. Too soon to tell, but it's possible. At this point, the fight is undecided, as we says. Beerus is already convinced we'll save the destruction of the planet, and then Goku's like, "You sure?" Basically, he just says, you know, he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure, it's
this
fine."
is something
and then,
I really love because when Goku and Vegeta met, Goku was like Vegeta's introduction to like moral development and the idea that you could like spiritually improve yourself and get stronger. And this is like a parallel to that because Beerus is telling Goku, "Hey, there's a whole new level of power out there." So
yeah,
I really, really like that because it's like a parallel to whenever Goku, Beerus in a lot of ways really is like a positive version of Vegeta in a lot
Jordan,
of ways.
remember in the movie when he told Goku that there were 12 universes, he was shocked. Remember, he was like, "There are? No, I never knew that." Remember that? Remember that debacle, bro?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But guys, you know, he was shocked. No, he wasn't shocked at anything, bro. He was more so happy. This right here is this panel is after he reveals that there's beings out there far greater you can imagine, and that Whis is even stronger than Beerus. And Goku, that's when Goku's like, "I don't understand how anybody." He's just been fucked mentally. He's been mind fucked because of how strong Beerus is. And now he finds out that Whis is not only stronger, but a lot stronger. And we find out in the movie when he chops Beerus after getting the wasabi in his mouth.
This is why when people get upset that there are characters that Goku can't fight without God Ki who don't have God Ki, I think that's dumb. Because this is essentially Beerus telling Goku there are more heavily evolved, advanced life forms out there that just this level of training is like the bare minimum you would need to keep up with them. Like, that's why that kind of gets on my nerves because it's like, you don't have to have, like, okay, when Goku started training on Earth and eventually surpassed Vegeta, a character who was born biologically superior, that is a side effect of his spiritual development and growing his chi. That idea is the foundation for all of Super. Goku and Vegeta are using a spiritual means of getting stronger that is normally exclusive, for the most part, to Earth, because they're the planet that like encourages spiritual evolution and you know, raising your ki. Like the concept of like having more ki is something that's very, very Earth centric. So all of these characters that Goku and Vegeta are going to face in the future who don't have God Ki are basically like the new Vegetas, if that makes any sense. They were all born superior biologically, and Goku and Vegeta are just using the same thing that Goku used on Earth to catch up and surpass Vegeta, somebody who was born biologically superior. Goku and Vegeta are being forced to do that to keep up with the next tier. Like God Ki and their ability to like control their ki better, because you have to remember, Saiyans are treated as low-level life forms throughout all of Dragon Ball. They are essentially barbarians. They are not treated as like advanced life forms. They're treated as like the bottom of the barrel. They're very strong, but in terms of them being like advanced life forms, they're not treated that way at all. They're treated like barbarians, like the bottom of the barrel. Like they're treated like not advanced life forms. Now they are hyper evolutionary and they do advance extremely quickly, but they're not treated that way within the story. So essentially the plot of a lot of the fights in Super are centered around the idea of Goku and Vegeta using a more spiritual means to get stronger, ki, and fighting all of these other characters throughout Dragon Ball Super who are naturally stronger as a side effect of moral development and a lot of these characters being biologically naturally superior. So That's just
Well,
something.
also the higher mortal level was because of the fact that Beerus and Beerus and Supreme Kai didn't do their jobs as good as the other universes, which we covered back when that whole thing went down. So here we have the defusion of Kibito and Shin. We went over that earlier. What do you want me to tell you? It's just, it is what it is. Beerus flies off. The arc is over. Well, not really, because we have, of course, a precursor. This is like sort of like a little teaser of the Resurrection F story that Toyotaro would not put into Dragon Ball Super's manga, and Champa blowing up one of the Frieza ships, which I thought was cool. We have, of course, the introduction of Sorbet and Tagoma. And at this point, you know, we're thinking, okay, Resurrection F is next, but no, Toyotaro does not adapt Resurrection F. Instead, we jump to Beerus and Champa, Chapter 5 of Dragon Ball Super. And we have Goku and Vegeta training, which is kind of where Resurrection F sort of picked up with these two characters. But we find out quickly, this is all just Goku and Vegeta training. And they're both trying to beat Beerus, as he's now the new measuring stick. Notice they already have Whis' symbol on their chest, so it has to be after Resurrection F, because he does that in that version of the movie, or in the movie, that is. Whis is now training both of them. They're just going back and forth. This is what Jordan was talking about. They're adding extra training sequences to keep the manga more exciting. It's a battle manga. And here we have Vegeta busting out Super Saiyan Blue, which was still not known as Super Saiyan Blue yet. One of the things that we have to remember is it was in this chapter that the word Super Saiyan Blue was ever used, because in the movie and in all the video games, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. This chapter is, and we're going to get to it, is where the name Super Saiyan Blue came from. Fact right here.
And this is something I have to acknowledge, because this is another piece of misinformation that I see floating around on the internet all the time.
Which one?
So a lot of people say, because we didn't see the God absorption thing like in the manga, and because they skipped ROF, that Goku didn't absorb the battle power of Super Saiyan God in the manga. Now,
I can understand people thinking
whether he did or not. Here's what's interesting about it, because it's a nothing burger is what it is. Because anytime anybody ever brings up the idea that Goku didn't absorb the battle power of Super Saiyan God, they always do it to try and make Goku in the manga seem weaker. Okay, that's their motivation for it. Their motivation is to always be like, well, he didn't absorb the battle power of Super Saiyan God in the manga, so he's not as strong. Super Saiyan Blue is a Super Saiyan with the battle power of a Super Saiyan God. Okay? Let me say that again. Super Saiyan Blue is a Super Saiyan with the battle power of a Super Saiyan God. Meaning, whether or not Goku absorbed the battle power of Super Saiyan God is meaningless. It's a nothing burger, because
he trained up anyways.
Yeah, in order for Goku to even be able to use Super Saiyan Blue, he has to have the bare minimum battle power of Super Saiyan God in order to use Super Saiyan Blue. He has to have it, okay? So whether he absorbed it or not is irrelevant, because it is a requirement for Super Saiyan Blue. You have to have it. You have to have the battle power of Super Saiyan God, and you have to have the key control training necessary to use the full extent of that power, to where whenever you turn Super Saiyan, you'll turn Super Saiyan Blue. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because it's something that I see floating around on the internet all the time. Like, when people say it, like, I know your only motivation for saying it is to try and say that Goku is weaker in the manga, and you make yourself look illiterate by
a lot of people do that.
By even trying to make that point, because you're basically admitting that you don't even understand what Super Saiyan Blue is. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I've seen that online constantly, like all the time. People say
I haven't seen that in a while, but I believe you. I haven't seen it. I've seen that before, but it's been a minute. Maybe because I choose to see no evil sometimes, bro. But I do like how here they're both saying Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, over and over again because see, the Vegeta says it there, Goku, they're all saying it over and over again just to like right here. How about Super Saiyan Blue? This is literally when the form first was called Super Saiyan Blue. Now, I am not certain if Akira Toriyama
You
was the
don't have
one
the
that
manga
told.
pulled up. I just wanted you to be aware of
Oh,
that. The
there we
manga's
go.
not.
There it is. I got it. So what I was showing is over here they're saying Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. Down here they're saying it nonstop, and this is when we says, "Look, you don't transform in the fight. Do as I say in training." They're being a little too cocky because he beat Golden Frieza, but above it he's like, "How about Super Saiyan Blue?" Blue, basically, I do not know if Akira Toriyama told Toyotaro this, but it appeared in the manga before it appeared in the anime. Right? It did. However, we do not know the origin, but we do know that Toriyama, whether he came up with it or not, went with it because he called the Super Saiyan Blue later on as well. Because when people, and again, this is people misunderstanding Akira Toriyama. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, isn't that redundant? Yes, that's the joke. Dragon Ball Super, superhero. Isn't that redundant? Yes, that's the joke. Do people not understand how? Like, no, they don't. They don't understand because they grew up on the dub and they think this is a fucking a science fiction action anime, which it is, but it really isn't. They don't understand Akira Toriyama. This man was a gag manga artist first. He did silly shit on purpose. Multiple times, even when shit got serious, he did some silly shit.
Right.
So, yes, it is redundant. You don't think Toriyama wrote that down and say, you know what, Super Saiyajin Godo, Super Saiyajin? Nah, that's not redundant. That sounds cool. Come on, dude. Come on, you're gonna take credit away from the man like that. So here, Toyotaro says there was an incident recently where Frieza, the Emperor of Terror, who once threatened to destroy the universe, was resurrected and went to attack the Earth. After meeting with Beerus, Goku and Vegeta went to Whis for training. Their strength evolved to a power that surpassed even the God form, Super Saiyan Blue. Thanks to that, they were able to defeat the resurrected Frieza. So Toyotaro skips the entire movie. He already did the Resurrection F.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the Resurrection F, a promo manga. He didn't want to do it again. And then for Broly, he does one page, which we'll get to when we get there, and then starts the moral arc. But yet with Superhero, we get a fucking almost 2 years of the movie being retold in the manga. Why can't they go back to this? There has to be a reason. I don't know if we're ever going to know what that reason is, but there has to be a reason. So now it's a bit more like the anime with Goku and Vegeta training with these like body outfits. And then here comes Champa, the god of destruction of Universe 6 and Beerus's twin brother. And now, of course, they're learning that there's more gods of destruction. This is all just the introduction of Whis and Beerus. Of Vados and Champa. I love how Vados is like, oh, my power is superior. And then, Whis is like, I don't know about that. And so they have their own little debate here. And they want to know what the hell's going on. They start eating. This is similar to Dragon Ball Super episode 28 was the episode, the introduction of Champa. I love that episode. I love the way Champa's introduced. I love that. I've always liked that about him. And they talk about, this universe has the best food. That's true. And then here, and this happened in the anime as well, we have, and I've used this panel, I don't know how many times in my videos, because it's very important. They talk about how there's the 12 universes and that 2 and 11 that add up to 13 are linked. So 6 and 7, 5 and 8, 9 and 4, etc., etc., etc. This is not really a big deal and wouldn't really be seen as a big deal until the Tournament of Power. It really isn't. Right. It's just lore. Yeah, at this point, Toriyama's just dropping lore. Now, one thing I want to make clear to you guys is that things get very interesting from here on out, because if you remember when this was coming out, the manga got ahead of the anime, and the anime would not get ahead of the manga until, and that's because they skipped Resurrection F, but the anime would not go ahead of the manga until the last half of the Universe 6 arc, because the Universe 6 arc, the majority of it, because I remember exactly what chapter it was. The chapter where Goku confronts Frost with the third form with the long head. That was when the anime caught up, and then everything after that, the anime was ahead of the manga. So at that point, Toyotaro was writing behind the anime, but shortly after that, Toriyama would start working with him. Moving on, they explain everything. They talk about, like, a lot of comedy here. Beerus and Champa want to have a fight. It's way too dangerous because, they could destroy the universe, literally, right? So then they agree to have a tournament, and then this is the Universe 6 tournament. I mean, that's what it is. I am going to have a Super Magic Show episode very soon going into what they're going to change for the anime remake. So look forward to that. I can always tell the ones that know how to read and the ones that don't, bro. I can always tell, bro. I can always tell. Here we have Goku. Here we have a little what?
Sagambo. And
yeah, no, I don't know where I said Goku. I meant to say Frieza and his minions dead, bro, because he drew them there as a little bonus right there, bro. Tournament preparation. So this part, I actually really hope we get this in the Dragon Ball Super Universe 6. Right. Because I have always wanted to see an anime version of Beerus versus Champa. Who wouldn't?
Right.
Oh, thank you, Victor. Thank you. But yeah, man, I just look at the power, bro. They blow up planets for fun. Just, yeah. Here we have other planets. They're fighting in space. They're jumping around. Like Goku versus Gas had this type of cool shit in it, but that was much later.
Not to this level, though. This is
dude. This is the kind of fight I want to see from now on, Jordan.
Yeah, this is the level that Goku and Vegeta are striving to get to right here.
Jordan, dude. Jordan, brother. For years, I remember saying that I wanted to see the Gods of Destruction fight, and the manga gave us that twice. Here, and then later on the Tournament of Power manga, where you have the God Destruction Battle Royal thing.
Yeah.
And freaking, we never got it. And I actually hope that with the new remake, we do get it. I mean, look at this, bro. And it's all because they were birthdays, bro. It's all because of it's their birthday, and they're just deciding to just.
Yep.
I just love it, bro. I actually have a shirt with these two. I should have worn it today, bro. I have a Beerus and Champa shirt, but it's a 3X. Awesome. It's a 3X, though, and I'm not that fat anymore. So,
yeah.
What do you think about this? What do you think about this comment, Jordan?
Yeah, it is very similar. They don't get along.
Well, here we have the introduction of, I like this, Justin Sullivan. Fun fact, Goku never defeated Beerus. Thank you for that, bro. I didn't know. I had no idea. This is the introduction of the Super Dragon Balls, which, again, that would be a much bigger plot element later on, but they are introduced here. We were all like, oh, shit, there's Dragon Balls that are planet size. Like, now we're really going over the top. I was here for it, though. I was here for it.
Yeah, for real.
And this is when they're talking about it and the introduction of the Super Dragon Balls. I was down. Goku and Vegeta were excited because they get to fight exciting new opponents.
Yeah, I like the whole Namekian shavings off of the
Super Dragon Balls.
Yeah, I actually do like that.
But okay, fair. But and we discussed this during Daima. Which came first? Because this has not been answered. No, it hasn't been answered yet. Because it's the Super Dragon Balls or the Demon Realm Dragon Balls.
I will say with confidence that the Super Dragon Balls came first. I will also say with confidence that Zeno and Grand Priest came first. I think they already existed during the time that
they predate Rimus. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do. I think that they predate Rimus. I think Rimus has to. why else would Rimus have to work with an entire group of Kai with Zeno to have this sort of agreement where they can expand into the universe? If they didn't have to work with Zeno, Rimus would just be, he could do whatever he wanted. Rimus is in charge of the Kai. He hangs out with, and he's part of that group. He's not above Zeno. He is the guy who hangs out with the Kai who work for Zeno. So it seems like for me, Rimus can create all the universes he wants, but he's only creating them at the whim of Zeno's ability to destroy them. It doesn't matter how many universes he can create, or what his ability to create is, if he's got this other entity that's above him and pre-exists him that can erase everything that he creates.
So are you saying you think that Zeno's from the demon realm also?
No, I think that Zeno's realm existed as a separate realm.
Okay. We don't have enough information for that. I know where you're. It's a good theory. I'm just saying. It's not really a theory, because Dragon Ball exists off of lower and higher. Dragon Ball exists off of lower and higher dimensions. I know. The entire geography of the Dragon Ball universe is based off of the idea of lower and higher dimensions. Zeno's domain is established to be a higher dimension than the universes themselves from the very beginning of the story. Like, literally, the second we go to Zeno's domain, you see all of the universes sitting as a separate entity to Zeno's. Like, Zeno's literally playing with them like as a game. Like, universes don't mean anything to him. The fact that Rimus can create universes does not mean anything. They are minuscule in comparison to Zeno's realm. The power of Zeno. I understand where
Zeno's realm exists in a dimension above the demon realm and pre-existed basically. If
some of that's theoretical though, bro. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying a lot of that is theoretical.
We don't
have enough information on Zeno.
If you took all the information you really need is just seeing Zeno's realm and seeing that it's a different dimension than the universes that Rimus created.
Yeah, it exists outside the multiverse. I'm not denying that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Super Dragon Balls were created before the Demon Dragon Balls, only because we know Neba's old as shit.
The Super Dragon Balls were being used as a tool by Zeno and Grand Priest in the Tournament of Power. And not only were they being used as a tool by Zeno and the Grand Priest in the Tournament of Power, they actually bowed to Zalama.
Okay, but I'm not going to turn this into a debate because for a different show. But I just want to say I have a counter argument, and not for the Zeno thing necessarily. That's not really a big thing. But if you watch Daima, the creator of the Demon Dragon Balls, which is Neba, straight up says, "I haven't seen a Namekian in ages. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anybody from Planet Namek in forever." Mm-hmm. So, to me, the implication there is that he created the Demon Realm Dragon Balls first, and that may actually be before Rimus. Again, this is theoretical as well. Before Rimus created the multiverse, and then when the multiverse was created, then the Super Dragon Balls were created because of the inspiration from Neva, because Neva hasn't seen any Namekians in thousands and thousands of years.
That is assuming that the Dragon Balls are an extension of the universes and not an extension of Zeno and the Grand Priest.
Well, we don't know if they're an extension of.
Yeah.
They didn't actually state that. People think, people think Zalama is still alive, bro. Like, I know you've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard
he might
that,
be.
And I don't necessarily go that deep into it, but I will say the fact that moral development is a thing, the fact that the angels are above the Kai, the fact that the Kai,
I agree with you.
The fact that the Kai had to struggle to be in this middle ground to even be in Zeno's presence, all seems to suggest that there was a pre-established hierarchy that the demon realm kind of just made its way up to by accident by trying to expand their territory. That's just how I see it. You know what I mean?
See, it's just, again, what you're saying is theoretical, but I'm not saying that as cut your balls off. But we just don't have that much information yet. And you know me, I focus as much on as factual, how much factual information we have as possible.
It is interpretation, but I would call it a critical interpretation. I would call it an interpretation that cuts right to the bone of what's being portrayed to us. Because not once has Zeno or the angels been portrayed as anything other than older than everybody else. I mean, they literally have like a halo behind their head to imply that they're like immortal in some sense. The demon realm doesn't have that. As a matter of fact, I would argue that what makes Rymus as powerful as he is the fact that he is just starting to learn the benefits of the type of magic that the angels use. I see Rymus as just like somebody who's catching up to the level of power that the angels and Zeno already have. I don't see Rymus as like more powerful than the angels or Zeno. I see him as just somebody through mortal development who is reaching a level that already existed in this realm where Zeno and the angels reside. That's the way I look at it.
But okay, you're basing that on the idea that Rymus created the multiverse, and the multiverse is like a child's plaything to Zeno, which I understand that. At the same time, though, the problem with what you're saying, and it's not your fault, it's the fact that we don't know the origin of Zeno, the origin of the Grand Priest, and we really don't know the origin of Rymus, except we know he's from the demon realm. Like, we just don't know. Is Zeno a being that exists, like, for example, the Abrahamic God outside of time space? He certainly is not in the multiverse, but is he outside of time space? I don't think so. You know why I don't think so? Because
I think he has a separate.
There's two Zenos. Yeah, but there's two Zenos. The future timeline has its own Zeno. That therefore makes he's not fifth dimensional.
Well,
he's third dimensional at most.
You're thinking about it.
This is getting very nerdy.
You're thinking about it within the context of like sci-fi's understanding of dimensionality, when Dragon Ball is using a spiritual version of that, where
not denying that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's not just Zenos. 5 dimensions. There could even be a dimension above Zeno and the angels. Like,
I agree with you. I agree with that. In fact, a lot of people have theorized throughout the years that there is somebody above Zeno. Now the theory is, well, maybe that's Rymus. And I think the reason as to why people have pointed to Rymus being above Zeno is because of the fact that when Supreme Kai said he's still around, and that's the one that kind of surprised everyone. Like, okay, well, where is he? Well, I mean, obviously the real answer is that Toriyama didn't come up with him until after Super, nonetheless.
But, well, I guess my only counter argument to that is, if he's stronger than Zeno, why does he have to worry about Zeno erasing his universes?
Well, how do you know he's even worried about it? We don't even know where he's at. Like, that's what I'm saying. We don't know anything about this guy. We saw one picture of him.
Well, no, they did say that he hangs out with the Kai in the universes. Like, basically, like where the Kai.
I thought they said that he created them and then he was gone.
No. What ended up happening is they created the multiverse, and then all the Kai moved to the new universe and started trying to.
No, it's not getting heated. Don't even start with your pussy shit, bro.
Basically, what ended up happening is Rymus creates the universe, and then he, along with the Kai, come up with this effort to develop the mortals into something more akin to what we see with the angels and Zeno. That's what I'm saying. The entire plot sort of sets up this idea that the Kai and everybody in the demon realm are trying. Basically, think about it this way. On the mortal developmental spectrum, okay, because mortal development is a side effect of how much ki you have.
Spectrum is the right word to use here.
On the mortal developmental spectrum, the demon realm is the bottom. How do we know this? Because they don't have any ki. They don't even know what ki is.
Right. Okay? It's magic to them.
They're
very much behind everybody else.
They are the bottom of the spiritual development totem pole, because even though
they predate everybody else, which I thought was interesting.
They don't have ki, and because of that, we know they aren't spiritually developed. And then you have the mortal realm, which is in the middle. Now, the mortal realm, they have ki, but they're not.
Well, I agree with this. We're in agreement with this.
They're not moving into the higher dimension of God ki until after they've developed and become something more akin to the gods. So based on that system, system seems to suggest that Rimus was a being that came from an underdeveloped place, and he just so happened to be more developed than the rest of them. And when he moved into this new territory, he essentially came into contact with Zeno and the angels, who were already these super
you know what?
developed
That's a fair theory. I'm not gonna totally co-sign it. I'm not gonna co-sign it to where I'm like, that's definitely what happened. But I'm not disagreeing with your theory at all. But that still doesn't. Okay, that really I can get on board with that. But that still doesn't necessarily mean the Dragon Balls of the Demon Realm don't predate the ones from the. Because remember, the timeline no matter what, right? We do not know the timeline of events. We know that Rimus created the multiverse, and we know that Zeno and the angels and the Grand Priest rule over the multiverse. We don't know the timeline of when the Super Dragon Balls were made, because they were presumably not always there. They had to be made. They had to be created by Zalama. We also don't know where Zalama ranks in the god hierarchy, if he's even a god to begin with. So this goes back to, like, I'm not disagreeing with your. It's like when we had that conversation about UI privately. It's not that I disagree with your theory. It's that I don't think there's enough information for me to say, yes, that's true. I like your idea, but I feel like it's still up for interpretation about which set of Dragon Balls came first. That the Zeno thing makes sense, but we don't know the timeline of when the Super Dragon Balls were made versus the demonic Dragon Balls. Or how old Neva is. I'm basing it off of his comments about the Namekians being gone.
Basically, what you're saying is it's very possible that because there's like this new and improved universe, that the Super Dragon Balls are new improved Dragon Balls, which I can see that. Like I could totally see
that could be. I wasn't even thinking that. I was just saying because everything originated in the Demon Realm. That was my sort of thing.
You know? Right. That makes sense. I can see that. I just. Based on what we know about Zeno and everybody, I would just like to think that it's probably that they probably do predate them. But I mean, you're right; it is open to interpretation. I won't argue with that.
The problem is now that Toriyama's dead, I don't know if we're ever going to get an answer, or if we get one, if it'll be satisfactory to people. Kiryu says it could be the Super Dragon Balls were made first, then Neva made the Demon Dragon Balls to be used more easily compared to the Super Balls that take universal travel to get. Here's the thing, though. When they asked him, he said in Daima that those are the first Dragon Balls ever made. So he said that. Now, could he be wrong about that? And
well, he could also be saying that in reference to other Dragon Balls, like basically the first Dragon Balls being made by the Namekians. He could be saying that within the context of the Namekians as well.
But does that confirm then that Zalama's a Namekian? Because that's a theory, not confirmed.
I don't think Zalama's a Namekian. I don't agree with that idea.
But that's a prevailing theory. I just don't. I think if Neva did, I think if Neva created the Demon Dragon Balls after, if he created the Demon Dragon Balls after Zalama created the Super Dragon Balls, I think that he didn't know about it. Like, I think maybe they both had that magical ability and just didn't know about each other. I find that hard to believe. That's just a third optional theory if you want to throw it out there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's just, it's like the fucking, see this right here. I actually did a video about Zalama, and I said it's never been confirmed that he's a Namekian, bro. That's never been confirmed. Wait a minute, dog. Okay, first of all, Uchi, you got heat with me, brother. I'm gonna
conversation.
Yeah, but hold on. This guy's got heat with me, bro. I was supposed to be his best man. Let me tell you what's going on with this traitor right here, this Benedict Arnold, bro. I was supposed to be the best man at his wedding because I gave him the confidence to pull the woman he's about to marry. And instead, he picks his brother. First of all, what's he ever done for you? Second of all, I had a painting. I was going to commission a painting, a big painting for Uchi at his wedding of the Goku and Gohan father-son Kamehameha. but I was gonna be Goku. It was gonna be my face on Goku and Uchi's face on Gohan, and it was gonna be this. It was gonna be this awesome painting that the whole world would have gone crazy over, but instead he sold me out for his brother. Can you believe that? Jordan, would you ever do that to me?
Not if I told you that you could be my best man. No.
Well, he didn't tell me that. I sort of made myself the best man, but I assumed that Uchi understood.
You superimposed. Okay.
I assumed that Uchi would say, you know what, you're right. I do owe my entire life to you. You can be my best man. But instead, he sold me out, bro. Can you believe that? Brother, he did me, Uchi, you did me worse than Andre did Hogan in 1987, bro. You did me dirty, bro. You hurt me, bro. See, I'm a karate man, so I cry on the inside. But I would be crying on the outside if I didn't cry on my inside. No, don't you dare do that, bro. I told you not to do that. Do not report anything I say to her, bro. Except what I told you to say to her. Don't report this, bro. We don't need to get other people involved, all right? We already got enough people involved.
Right.
I can't believe he sold me out, bro. Anyways, moving on, bro.
That was a lot of fun.
Uchi's always a good time, bro. I wanted to go to the wedding and maybe dance a little Spanish, and now he doesn't even want me there, bro. He wants me to be like the peons, bro, and sitting on. He told me you can come to my wedding if you stay outside. You can eat outside with the dogs, bro. That's what he said. It's fucked up. Anyways, let's continue. So, the only details here are Beerus recruiting people, but saying he's picking the strongest one, which of course we know is Monaka. Right? I do agree with that. I do agree with Johnny Myers, bro. Or John Myers, not Johnny Myers. Sorry, I misread your name. But this whole thing was being set up with Monaka. Now, when this was first coming out, right? Like, I suspected that Monaka was going to be a gag, but I wasn't sure. Turns out it was a gag. But what about you? I wasn't talking to you back then. Did you suspect that Monaka would end up being a gag, or did you think he was actually going to be a serious fighter?
No, I knew he wasn't going to be a serious fighter. The first time I saw Monaka, I saw him in the anime, and I knew immediately that he was not going to be serious.
That's right, brother. I know what's called the quarter blood technique. I hit you, a quarter of the blood comes out your body, bro. I cry on the inside. Anyways, all right, so Bulma creates the Space Dragon radar because she's a super genius who can create devices without even, she's only been to space like what, twice maybe in her whole life. And
I love that they show the island from Jocko in that panel to the left.
Because we're about to meet Tights, bro. Now, thankfully, you and I covered Jocko, and I hope that the people watching this, at least the hardcore Dragon Ball fans, I do hope that they have listened to us and gone to go read Jocko, because it is worth reading, and it's Toriyama's prequel to Dragon Ball. But I love that. I actually really appreciated the fact that they brought Tights back for this. And I'd like to think that we've never seen the Universe 6 manuscript, but I want to say this was Toriyama because he had just written Jocko 2 years before. Jocko was still fresh when this was coming out, Jordan.
Yep. It's awesome.
Very good, bro. Very good. I actually wonder if we're ever going to see her again. I hope so. And speaking of the devil, here's Jocko. He returns once again. I'm very happy to see Jocko here back. And then this is the introduction of Lord Zuno. Now, I feel like Lord Zuno is a tiny bit underutilized. I think they could do a lot more with him. What do you think about Lord? I'm talking about from back then even to this day.
I do agree with you, but they utilized him very well in the granola arc. So I think they kind of satisfied. I think they kind of satisfied my craving for Zuno to be better utilized in the granola arc. Like, I think that was the best time that they've used him.
First you uninvite me from being your best man. Then you steal my idea for a Mega Man side-scrolling shooting game of Jocko, bro. What's next, Uchi? Are you gonna take a knife and stick it into my chest and carve out my heart? Is that your next crime?
He's gonna name his channel Geekdom 102.
No, bro. He's gonna name. Here's what he's gonna do. This is what he's gonna do, bro. He's gonna fly me out to his wedding and book me in a hotel. And when I walk into the hotel, on all the walls is gonna be written Broly and Chila did not have sex. That's how he's gonna punish me, bro. He's gonna write that on all the walls, bro. On the mirror, the ceiling. That's his vengeance, bro. It's gonna be his vengeance, bro.
Uchi, I have no control over this, man.
I know nobody does.
Jordan, a question a bit late, but if Saiyan Beyond God Goku doesn't have God Ki like you have said, how does it make sense that when Goku is a Super Saiyan Beyond God and turns SS, he automatically turns blue? It is because in Saiyan Beyond God, he is using the key control technique necessary to have the battle power of a Super Saiyan God, and the battle power of a Super Saiyan God is all that's necessary to become Super Saiyan Blue, not God Ki or like Super Saiyan God or whatever. It's literally just the battle power of Super Saiyan God plus Super Saiyan. That's it. That's literally it.
Okay. Yes, I'm not gonna feel weird saying this because Jordan kind of answered it, but if you want more context, check the transformation guide. I did do a Saiyan Beyond God video. A lot of people got that wrong. A lot of people got Saiyan Beyond God wrong. I can't blame them. Again, when I want to make this clear, when I say a lot of people got blank wrong, I'm not talking about necessarily people in this chat or you, whoever you may be watching this at home. I'm talking about people on like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like there's misinformed Dragon Ball fans on all platforms. It does not necessarily mean that every single one of them is misinformed, but the unfortunate reality, bro, the unfortunate reality is that a lot of them are, and it's infuriating, and I can't stop it because I'm only one man. So finally, the Super Dragon Balls have been gathered. The stadium's been built. What do you think about the Egyptian theming for the manga version? I love it because Beerus is based on an Egyptian cat. All of this makes sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of use that as the basis for my manga as well. Like my entire manga, like all of my Dragon Ball Infinity, my fan manga, all of it is based on this type of Egyptian aesthetic. So yeah, I think it makes perfect sense.
I got a question for you and for Uchi. Why is it that when Sparking Zero came out, we didn't get this as an arena to play?
Oh, I would have loved that.
Or the anime version of the Universe 6 tournament arena, or where they fought Broly at the end of the Broly movie in the ice. Why did we not get any of that? Can somebody answer me? Can somebody from Bandai answer me why we didn't get those as playable levels?
Right.
I don't know.
This kind of reminds me of Baba's Palace a little bit because she had like pyramids surrounding her thing as well.
Yeah, she did. No, for sure. All right. Chapter 7, Warriors from Universe 6. So this is the introduction of the Universe 6 Warriors in this chapter. First, they go meet Zuno. And Zuno is obviously there to answer questions about the... Hold on. He gets one question, and then he's like, how big are Bulma's breasts? That's a Toriyama gag and a half. We know that. Actually, Jocko asks him that. And then Zuno answers as she covers up. The lady with pendulous breasts over there. Do you wish to ask anything? It's just Toriyama humor, bro. Don't think any more of it, bro. Like people need to
lighten up.
People need to lighten up. Brother, Crime 101 was the name of my original YouTube channel where I was ripping people off, bro, but I had to shut that down. That's not a true story. Anyways, here is the entire backstory on the Super Dragon Balls. The color, it says created by the dragon god Zalama in the year 41 of the sacred calendar. Now, here's the question. This goes back to the discussion Jordan and I had. Is the sacred calendar counting from the beginning of the multiverse, from the beginning of Universe 6 and 7 or from the beginning of the Demon Realm? We don't have an answer for that yet. Also, Dragon God Zalama. Jordan, don't you think it's actually more likely that Zalama, instead of being a Namekian, is actually a dragon?
Yes. Also, the only other hints we've gotten in terms of the sacred calendar is whenever the Tournament of Power rolls around, they suggest that the sacred calendar essentially encompasses Zeno's rule, meaning that the sacred calendar is a means of keeping track of how long Zeno has been in charge, and not necessarily how long the universes have existed or anything like that. The sacred calendar is in reference to how long Zeno has been in power, which means
there might have been somebody before Zeno. That's what that tells me, right?
Which means that the Super Dragon Balls were made year 41 of Zeno's
reign.
Right.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm saying. That does that not sort of imply that there was somebody there before Zeno? Like, I'm not saying it was Ramus. I'm not saying that. I'm saying another deity.
I think the angels predate Zeno, for the record.
Okay.
I think Zeno is essentially just the reason that they prioritize moral development so much is because I see Zeno as essentially the first successful run of moral development.
There were failures before him.
Yeah. I think that the reason Zeno is the Omni King is because the angels were trying to create life, something akin to Zeno. And once they created something akin to Zeno, they brought him on to be their king. That's my perception.
You think that, but that's very theoretical, bro. You're saying you think that the angels created Zeno?
Not created him, but developed him the same way that they've developed all the other life in the other universe.
Okay, so but who was his creator? That's the thing we don't know.
I think he was created because so Toriyama talked about this in terms of like how the Kai create life. He said that there is no one single creator of life. He said that all life in the Dragon Ball universe is developed in a hands-off manner, meaning that they just let all life develop naturally and scientifically within the universe. So I think Zeno is basically just that. I think Zeno was a life form that originally, a more prehistoric, barbaric version of what Zeno is did exist. And then they slowly developed into what we see Zeno as today. And because of that, Zeno became the king. I think moral development, because you have to remember, Zeno's motivation for moral development is to have more life like him. That's the only reason. That's the only reason he cares about moral development at all, is because he wants life that is akin to him. And if they don't meet his standard, he will just erase them. So
we don't know, bro.
That seems to suggest that, Zeno himself is sort of an example. And they also talk about how Zeno is pure of heart, right? So that
he's
also,
a kid.
Yeah, that seems to suggest that he's something akin to what the angels are looking for, because Goku is something akin to what the angels are looking for, and he's also pure of heart. So there is like a grander narrative that I think that you can extrapolate from all this if you just kind of pay attention to like Zeno's character motivations, the angels' character motivations. You basically kind of have to think about how the characters are portrayed and what their motivations are in order to build up a grander narrative in terms of the idea of moral development and who's in charge of who in the god hierarchy and things of that nature. So,
well, okay, can I hit you with a theory? Let me hit you with an idea. Now, again, I'm gonna take established like lore, but slightly tweak it a bit, sort of like what you did earlier. So, what if? And again, let's take for example. Let's go back to the theory that Ramus is more powerful than Zeno. I'll get to what I mean in a minute. And that he predates Zeno. What if? Because this is something that a lot of a lot of other religious and mythologies around the world have actually done something like this, right? Where, okay, let's say Rimus creates the multiverse, creates the Supreme Kais, and that's where things begin. And then they start to create the galaxies, and off we go, right? That's how the multiverse began. And then at some point, there was an overpopulation problem. In other words, the Kais created too much. And there wasn't enough resources. There wasn't enough places to live. Even though the multiverse is giant and vast, there wasn't enough. So Rimus had to figure out a way to control the population while still having creation work. So that's where the idea of Zeno may have come in. So if Rimus is the higher deity, Rimus could have created Zeno and the concept of the gods of destruction to balance creation destruction. If there's too much creation, there's overpopulation.
I think Zeno was a pre-existing balance. I don't think Rimus created him. I think he existed. He was a counterbalance that Rimus came into contact with as an example of doing what you just mentioned.
Well, I think, okay, but no, I know that was, you mentioned that earlier. I'm saying for this theory, the idea is Rimus was the original ruler of the multiverse. And then again, just follow me for a minute. Overpopulation, he creates Zeno and the gods of destruction. Then what happens is the gods of destruction are not kept in check. They destroy too much. So then Rimus says, oh boy, what the fuck am I going to do? And then the angels, okay, well, the angels can exist and we'll link them with the god of destruction to basically have them be the overseers and make sure not too much is destroyed and have them linked with the Supreme Kais. See, if you do it that way, right? And this is, again, we're just coming up with theories. This is not
right.
But if you do that, then that would explain that prior to Zeno being the overlord, Rimus was the overlord, realized that he fucked up, gave it to Zeno, but he stepped away and let Zeno rule.
Let me ask you something. Why do you think personally Rimus is so powerful?
I'm not saying for sure that he's all that powerful.
Yeah, I mean, he created the
multiverse, and that's pretty fucking strong, bro. To create
the multiverse. The Kai can create things too, and so can the angels.
Right, but not as much as Rimus.
The angels created the TOP area in the world of Void, which I also think the world of Void has a huge.
Well, the Grand Priest created it.
Yeah, I think
not the world of Void, but the tournament arena.
I think the world of Void has a huge. I think the world of Void is the territory that Rimus expanded into, but we can get into that at another point. But the reason I ask, why do you think Rimus is as powerful as he is because it's established within Daima that the reason the Kai are as strong as they are is because they develop ki. So that would seem to suggest that the only way Rimus can be as powerful as he is for him to develop some form of ki. All of the Kai prior to developing ki were very weak. The Glend were not powerful. They had magic, but they weren't very powerful. And then also in Dragon Ball Daima, they teach us through Glorio that Glorio can use his ki to fuel his magic. He does that whenever he uses his lightning attack at the end. Whenever he's fighting Goma, he taps into ki for the first time, and then he uses that to fuel his magic. So there is like an established scene within Daima where they show you that there's a connection between someone having ki and being more powerful as a magician. So that seems to suggest that Rimus is only as powerful as he is as a side effect of developing ki. Now, the god...
Not necessarily, because he predates all the Kais too. That's the other thing. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but
we don't even know what kind of power that guy has. That's why I said this is all theoretical. We have no idea how much power that guy has. We kind of have an idea.
I don't think that, first of all, Rimus worked for the Demon King. He wasn't in charge of the Demon Realm. He was a servant of the Demon King.
Right, and that's another question about how old is that guy. So I mean,
Yeah. Basically, the only problem I have with your theory is that it takes time and it compresses it and it makes everything move extremely quickly. I don't think it happened that way at all. I think everything.
I think
well, let me just give my take on it. I think everything moved very, very slowly. I don't think the gods of destruction were created. I think they developed into gods of destruction as a necessity of life being created in the mortal realm, being destructive and dangerous, and then them having to take advantage of the destructive, dangerous nature of mortals and turn them into gods and use them as tools for their benefit. That's how I see the gods of destruction, because they were all mortal at one point. Even Beerus, Beerus was confirmed to be immortal at one point. So I don't think anybody created the gods of destruction. I think they developed into the gods of destruction. And I also think that the angels, because in the Tournament of Power, for example, when the Grand Priest creates that entire TOP ring out of Kachin, the only people we had saw who had that ability prior were the Kai. The Kai were the only beings that we saw prior who had the ability to create in that sense. So I think the angels also had to develop into being angels in the same way that the Kai are having to develop to be something akin to the angels. Basically, I think all life in Dragon Ball developed into what it is. I don't.
Well, I agree with that. But
yeah,
I'm saying my theory was over the span of a long time. It wasn't quick. You know what I mean? I'm not saying
right. I guess. Well, it was just the way you described it, with the gods of destruction being created and the angels being created.
A lot of it was kind of what happened with the Matrix. How the architect reveals the first Matrix of utopia, but mankind couldn't accept that because in our brains we can't accept perfection.
Yeah, I remember.
And so that kind of idea. But it's just my own twist on it, where the only reason why I'm even discussing the fact that Raimus could be older than Zeno, or maybe he's not. I mean, we don't know anything about Raimus. That's the problem. We don't know shit. But that's what I'm saying. Is because of the fact that in Daima, it's when they said the demon realm predates the multiverse, that flipped everything. Because if you remember, the original explanation for the demon realm from the Heroes timeline is completely different than what Toriyama just straight up was yeah, this is where everything comes from. And then it's well, why was it called the demon realm? See, now one of the things that I do agree with you on, that I think you and I will find a complete common ground on, is that there has to be other realms besides the demon realm. I understand that the demon realm created the multiverse, but there has to be another realm, because why would the demon realm? Why would it be called the demon realm if there wasn't another realm to differentiate it? No, we're in agreement there. It's just that we're not in agreement about who came into the multiverse when and at what time. That's the problem. And we might never know, because, again, Toriyama passed away. Even if Toyotaro explains it, how many people are going to say, yeah, well, is that really what Toriyama thought? We may never know. And that's the part that pisses me off.
True.
I wish there was a way. No, Mass Fighter, it's not true. That's not true. Okay. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to, it's not true. And if you don't believe me, that's your problem. It's not true. It's very simple to figure that out. Anyways, we still got we still got a little bit more to go. Not every Mangalorian for Super is going to be this long. It's just that we're literally starting a new era, and we had to introduce it for a while.
And me and Danny haven't talked for a while either. So
we usually have these discussions off stream, which sometimes can be wasted, considering that they would probably make decent videos.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're going to revisit this later with the TOP stuff. So, we found out about the Super Dragon Balls. I love this. They're training in the Room of Spirit and Time. I love that they have MMA gloves.
Bring the manga up, Danny. It's still not pulled up.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
It's not.
I switched it to us, bro. Hold Hold on a minute. I was in that the anime art doesn't have God Key. I don't think I said that though. I don't think I said that it does. I'll listen to the video again, but I don't think I said that it doesn't have God Key. Wait, SBG. I don't remember saying that. I think I talked about I was talking about the movie because the TV series changes things. So thank you, Mass Fighter. I respect you for that. I'm not gonna make fun of you, bro. I'm serious. Like I'm not Mass Fighter. I am not mad at you, bro. I am mad at the fact that there's so much bullshit out there. And when it's like when somebody asks me, does Disney own Dragon Ball? And I freak out. It's not that I'm mad at you. I'm mad at the fact that you got lied to. That's what pisses me off. Right. It's not you. It's that I don't want you getting mad. This is a good question for you. This is all for you right there, bro.
He just told me he wants to play a bunch of games on emulators that he's never got to play before. That's the first thing.
Is Dragon Quest one of them, bro?
Probably.
Good. It's good parenting.
He told me to pick him out a bunch of games that I love for him to play. So.
Is he gonna play Black Myth Sun Wukong, bro? I feel like he has to, bro. It has to be a rite of passage, bro. He has to beat that before he's 18.
Yep.
Tell him if you don't beat that by the time you're 18, you're out the door. So, anyways, okay, so Goku and Vegeta training with the MMA gloves. I am a big fan of that, of the MMA. I love this panel right here. I've always been a fan of it. I hope we see more of this in Super, because remember, in Super, they just left the room and they had beards, and it was like, okay. And here we have the introduction of Team Universe 7. Obviously, here we have 18 and other side characters went there, more than even in the anime version. Pilaf Gang is there, which I thought was cool. Of course, like, they don't even know what the hell is going on. Then we have the introduction of Monaka, who's the strongest, of course. And then, look, Yo Videl, where's Gohan? He couldn't come with us. He said there's an important academic conference today.
I actually don't like this. This is actually one of my nitpicks for Super.
The fact that he's at a conference?
Well, no, the fact that Goku gets aggravated with him, because Goku normally is very, very understanding of Gohan's like desire to be a scholar. So
you think Toyotaro dropped the ball there?
Yeah, I do.
Remember the Cosmic Cube, bro? God, they could have done so much more with that. Oh. Maybe we'll get more of it later. I really do hope so. And then Goku finds out that Monaka means nipples because he has gigantic nipples. Toriyama humor. Majin Buu was supposed to be in the tournament, but he failed the math test, that whole thing. And then here we have the first time that we ever see the Galactic King.
Yeah, he's actually more prominent in Dragon Ball than he is in Jocko by a long shot.
Well, I was going to say Jocko's the first time we ever saw him, but I was going to say this is the first time we see him in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, he's way more prominent in Dragon Ball than he ever was in Jocko, for sure.
Yeah. And here he is. I think, is this the joke where Goku shakes his hand and it's actually his dick? Or that's later.
I think that's at the end.
That's at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Cosmic Cube. I love all of that. It took him 35 minutes.
Whis exists or reveals that he has a home planet, which is interesting.
Yes, and that's another thing that he says home planet, not home realm.
Right.
And you said you believe there's an angel realm.
No, I believe they're from the same realm as Zeno, but I don't necessarily believe that Zeno's realm doesn't have planets. I just think it's a higher dimension. I understand that. So what you're saying is that there might be a planet in Zeno's realm that has these type of characters. Yes.
That would be where the Grand Priest is from, because we know
it's the same thing as the Demon Realm. The Demon Realm has multiple planets. The Mortal Realm has multiple planets.
Multiple levels.
Yeah. Well, it also has planets. So you've got
within that. Yeah, within the levels.
Yeah. So I think it's the same thing in every dimension as you climb up, you know.
Well, I like the idea of there being like a higher dimension, but we do know that the Grand Priest is the father of all the angels.
Yeah.
So you could say the Grand Priest is from that planet, but it'd be pretty fucked up if there were like multiple Grand Priest level guys in that realm.
I think
That would be
Uchi's egging
another.
you on, bro. I think he's egging you
No,
on.
bro. I know what he's trying to do, bro. He's trying to get me to embarrass myself, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna embarrass myself, bro. You're not gonna trick me, bro. You're not gonna trick me. I know what he's trying to do, bro. He's trying to get me uninvited. That's his little plot, bro.
Damn.
His little scheme, bro. I know that's his scheme. Unfair. Anyways, the cube lands in the awesome Egyptian themed. I don't think Uchi heard when I asked him about why we didn't get that in Sparking Zero.
Probably not.
Because that was an important thing.
Now she's in here. She's in here after your ass now.
Oh no, she is there. Oh no. Wait a minute. Why does it have a question mark next to her name? Do you see that there's a question mark next to her name? Why?
No, I don't see that.
You don't see it? Okay, on my screen it has her name and the time, but there's a question mark next to her name. And there's one next to Hello Boys too. I don't know. Well, hello, Crystal. I hope you're doing well today. Do you speak Spanish, by the way? I should have asked you this a long time ago, but I'm asking you now. So I'm sorry. Me and Jordan are behind trying to get this done.
We ain't got that much more. It's fine.
No, there's not that much left. This is basically just an introduction, and then here we have the Universe 6 Kaios, which of course, again, this is a big precursor to the Tournament of Power. In many ways, this arc is the precursor because it introduces Zeno and the other universes, and the hierarchy expands. So this is the part with the paper test, and then here comes Team Universe 6. Dude, when this was first revealed, tell me it wasn't the most hype shit.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
Very well, not fluently. Okay, no, I was going to talk to you in Spanish, but I'll refrain from it this time. And then, of course, they're like, Frieza. All right, Chapter 8, the battle begins. We're actually almost done. So this is the paper exam. They all take it. Of course, Majin Buu flops. And then this is kind of a big deal for future storytelling that may never happen. The introduction of Kaba. Now, Kaba introduces that there are other Saiyans. And now we know that there are more Saiyans in Universe 6. That is a huge deal because they don't know anything about the Frieza, what happened with them and Frost and Planet Sadla or Sadala. And Vegeta knows what that is. And he explains that Planet Sadala fell after a civil war broke out. We conquered another planet and named it Vegeta, but that planet was also lost. He's talking about Planet Plant, which is not just a GT thing.
This is really good storytelling and lore expansion because by establishing that Universe 6 is a mirror universe to Universe 7, all you have to do is just look at all the events that you've already learned about Universe 7 and look at them in the opposite way, and you completely understand the entire history of Universe 6, which is a really good writing tool. It's essentially like taking all of this history that you built up in your story previously, and then you're using all this effort that you've built up storytelling wise, and then you're applying it to expand your story through just creating a parallel universe where the opposite events unfolded, which is really cool.
And I like how it's the opposite in the sense of like, oh, Frost is a nice guy. He's not like your Frieza. Our Frieza is a nice guy. Look, we work for him. Of course, we saw the twist later on. Now, let me ask you this, and I want you to be honest with me. When you first saw Frost and when Kaba said he's a nice guy, anime or manga, did you believe him or did you think that he was always shady?
Given that Toriyama already made Frieza's businessman
Loan shark,
very, very obvious. I knew that. Okay, I considered Frost a better person than Frieza, but I did think that he was being shady and manipulative because that's a very businessman thing to do.
He's definitely more shady than Frieza as far as being like.
So I assumed based on Frieza's character themes that Frost would be something similar. He's just better at hiding his evil nature than Frieza is.
See, I didn't. I wanted Frost to be a good guy because I thought it would be so refreshing to actually have a member of Frieza's race not be evil. You understand what I'm saying? It would be great
if there was such thing as capitalists who weren't completely evil when pushed to the extreme, but That's not how Frieza or Frost are. But they basically kind of represent pushing that idea to the extreme, and you'll always have some sort of immorality come out of that. You know?
No, I got that. It's just I would have preferred there to be a different take because there are good businessmen out there who are genuinely good people. You're right. Most capitalists, a lot, especially the big rich class, are not.
Extreme. Yeah, it's the extreme.
Yeah, Frost, it would have been refreshing because remember in the anime version they said Frost did all this stuff for charity and he used to go to kids' birthday parties and all that.
They oversold it.
But I wanted that, man, because it's the opposite of how evil Frieza is.
Yeah, they oversold
it would have been a nice fresh take. You know, oh, Universe 6 is different. All the people that were evil, and remember, the two Namekians from the Tournament of Power were bad guys, so it's the reverse. Universe 6, everyone who's bad is good.
I like the sense of amorality that they create, though. I actually, because when most people think of like Universe 6 and Universe 7, they think of like the Universe 7 Saiyans as bad guys and the Universe 6 Saiyans as good guys, but I don't like looking at it that way. I actually like looking at the Universe 7 Saiyans as just desperate, and as a side effect of their desperation, they do evil things. Basically, they're just trying to survive in like a survival of the fittest system, and I think it's really interesting to look at the Universe 6 Saiyans as like the opposite of that. Right. They dominate the universe, but because they dominate the universe, is what they do really moral? You know, especially considering the fact that they worked with Frost. I like the like moral ambiguity of the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 Saiyans and not them being like straightforwardly good or straightforwardly evil. Like I like that. I think that's cool.
It's funny because Graham brings this up in the chat, and I was actually just going to say that. I do love how in the anime TOP, Frieza outsmarts Frost. He out-Friezas the other Frieza. I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed it. I love how Frieza did Frost in the anime, bro. It buried Frost, but Frieza's our boy. I mean, it's like he's a villain, but he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. You know what I mean? Something that I wish Uchi's family would do, but they want to leave me out to eat outside, bro, with the dogs. If only they would treat me like that, bro. I'd actually be happy for once in my life, but it's not how it is, bro. Unfair. It's not fair. So Goku barely passes, of course. And now the tournament begins. What do you think about the tournament announcer, bro? This design is so wacky, I don't even know where to even like go with it. Very Dr. Slump.
It's definitely a Toriyama design. You just can't tell it as much because Toyotaro drew it. Toyotaro, when he tries to draw like slump style characters from Toriyama, it always ends up looking like Nakatsuru's, because like Nakatsuru did like a lot of Dr. Slump stuff as well, Cashman, stuff like that. And you can always tell that his Dr. Slump and his Cashman and all that stuff looks distinct from Toriyama's. Like the aesthetic of it's different. And this just kind of gives me that vibe of like a Toriyama character that's being drawn by somebody other than Toriyama, you know?
Look, your husband said that if I go to your wedding, I have to eat outside with the dogs. Quote, with the other dogs. That's what he said. Not just with the other dogs, bro. That's what he said, bro. Hopefully you can change his mind.
This guy is just the guy. Just want to clarify this. This is not the guy that's refereeing the. This guy says that the announcer is completely different from the anime. No, there is. They have somebody else sing the anthem. They have the anthem sung in, but this is not the guy that's like actually like the referee of the.
Yeah, this is the announcer, and then this is the national anthem, as you said. Yeah, the music performer, if you will. Botamo, look, other people said it before me. I'm not taking credit for this. He does look like a roided up Winnie the Pooh. I mean, let's keep it a buck. He does. Course. That has to be done on purpose, right?
Of course it is. Yeah. Well, when Toriyama was designing the Universe 6 characters, he wanted to give them a more cartoony aesthetic to mirror Universe 7, because Universe 7 looks very serious, right? Like all the characters look very serious. Like they have very realistic human-like anatomy, and you can tell that in order to set the Universe 6 characters apart, he drew them more in a cartoony fashion. That's the reason Champa looks the way he does as well. Like all of the characters, the way that they're drawn aesthetically, very similar to what happens later on with the Tournament of Power. It's almost a completely different style of character.
Yes, I don't disagree with that at all. I like it. I mean, it's again, I just Dragon Ball fans would be better served if they read more of Toriyama's work besides Dragon Ball. If you read his other stuff, you understand the man better. Like, he's not entirely serious. Like, there are serious moments in the series, but he's mostly going to goof off. A lot of Super was that. The darkest arc of Super was the Trunks arc. I think that might have even been darker than Moro. Moro was dark, but not as dark as the Trunks arc. So, right. I don't know, man. I feel like people would be better served to understand the man better if they read a little bit more of his work. Boltamo versus Goku. He's pretty quick for a guy, who's large and fat. Not all fat guys are slow, bro. But Goku, of course, in his base form, almost gets eliminated here. This is not saying beyond God from what I can see. So, no. Goku tries to tire out Pooh, and he does so because he is overweight, so he gets tired easier. It's obviously just a classic shuffle that Ali would do to get him tired. And Goku is just purposely getting him tired, like on purpose. He gets up, Goku versus Boltamo, Chapter 9. A lot of it is Goku first dodging, then blocking, counterattacks here. And this right here is kind of a tribute to what he does to Majin Buu, where he grabs Buu by the antenna. This is during the Goku versus Buu fight. Yeah, like a speed bag, but he's punching him and he's bouncing back and forth. Because, of course, people remember when people theorized this is the Universe 6 equivalent of Majin Buu? Like, it's not, but I see why they say that. He's the heavyweight guy. I kind of wish we learned more about Boltamo and Magetta. Although Magetta does resemble the Tamagamis. So I don't know if that's a tie-in, bro. That's another thing between Super and Daima. I actually might do a video about like top 10 things that tie Super into Daima, and that's one of them. So Goku fires a ki blast. I actually think the manga version of this fight is better. Way better than the anime version. Goku's not sure what to do yet without tapping into God power. And they're saying that Goku's going to tire out himself. But Boltamo is eating all the shots. And so Goku's going to remember the tournament rules are it's 5-on-5 and the winners advance to fight the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. It's not like it's, 5-on-5 to where you tag team. It's not a tag team thing. It's like a gauntlet type of thing. So here, Goku figures out, okay, I got to get this guy off balance. Now, if you're wondering what is this in reference to, a lot of people might not know, but I'm going to educate you because you have to remember Dragon Ball was made in Japan, in Japanese for the Japanese. So there's this thing in Japan called sumo wrestling. And sumos are these two big, giant, huge 300-pound fat guys, but they're also pretty strong. Like they actually have muscle despite being fat. A lot of their movements are fast, open hand slaps, palm strikes, if it will. And that's what Goku's doing here. He's channeling the power of a sumo, lowering his base, his core down for more leverage and pushing forward like a sumo. That's what this is.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. And here we have Goku doing the Boston Crab, but he's going to get him the old-fashioned way. He's going to literally take Boltamo and drag him to the outside. He dodges, and Goku's about to get him out. Goku grabs him. On this right here is a straight-up judo throw. I don't remember the name of it. And this classic judo throw, I mean, he did it to Broly as well. Oh, sorry about that one. Oh, no, I was there. threw him out, eliminated Botamo. I love that he went that. I love this because as a martial arts fan, he went from sumo to judo and won. I like it. He didn't have to hit the guy. He just threw him out. Strategy.
Yep.
This is a funny question.
I like the use of different martial arts in the Super Manga. It's cool.
Me too. So Goku wins the first fight, and Frost is next. Hit is, of course, the guy who they're eyeing as being the leader of the team. Let me get this super chat here. Will the Grand Priest be in an arc as a villain? Brother, you must have missed the 8,000 theory videos that went out. Like, you're about 9 years.
You're gonna get to that is the Tournament of Power. That's the closest thing you're ever going to get to that.
You're about 9 years late with that idea, bro. I'm just keeping it real with you. You're about 9 years late with that one, dog. People who were around during Super will remember that being a thing for a while. Yeah. Now, you know what else was a thing for a while, Jordan? Remember when everybody in the fandom said that Goku threw the fight against Frost? And Daddy was like, Goku would never do that. And then, of course, the response was, oh, yeah, well, he threw the fight against Cell. And I'm like, that's not what happened. He surrendered. He didn't throw the fight. That's two different things. But yet people continuously said, I had to hear it for a whole fucking week that Goku threw the fight against Frost. Until finally they revealed that he had the little poison dart. Do you know how annoying it is, Jordan, to repeat yourself and then have people say you're wrong and then you're finally and you've always been right the whole time? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm sure it's annoying.
Do you know how fucked up it is that I've dealt with this? The other day I did a stream with Draven, and it was a wrestling stream, not even about Dragon Ball. And he's like, you've been putting up with this for 11 years, bro? I was like, welcome to the outer internet, my friend. Welcome to the outer internet. Yes, Go 10 Black is another one. That's another one, bro. All right. So Frost is being nice. It's Goku versus the fake Frieza. I actually really like Frost colors. What?
Pull the manga back up.
Okay. You're right. Why do I keep forgetting, bro? I'm trying to do more dynamic camera angles, bro, but like, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like Frost, bro. Frost has cool colors. Frost and Goku going at it. Bit more of an even fight here. Goku's hits are actually connecting, but Frost is coming back. Frost is quick, gets behind Goku, uses the classic Frieza tail whip. Frieza used tail whip, same shit. Frost's going down. He goes for a kick. He kicks Goku away. Goku's actually close to getting thrown out here, but he's too fast. They break part of the stadium, the arena floor. They're going at it. This is all great combat. Like Jordan said at the beginning of the stream, this is the battle manga aspect where Toyotaro was encouraged to have a fight every single chapter. And that's why most, not all, but most Dragon Ball Super chapters have fights because that was the encouragement.
Yeah.
So Frost and Goku going at it. Goku, I love this classic Goku uppercut. I mean, his uppercuts are legendary at this point. Knocking Frost away. But Frost is smiling because very much like, you know, the other martial artists, he's being tested. And he's like, oh, how could you do that? And he's like, oh, you're going to transform, right? And then he's like, how'd you know? And he's like, well, we have this guy named Frieza, you know. And the thing that's interesting is that Frost transforms into a version of Frieza's third form. So
yeah,
what do you think?
This is going to be a hot take. This is going to be a hot take, but I actually really like the way Frost's form looks in comparison to Frieza's just because of the black legs.
Colors are better.
Yeah, I think the black legs do a lot for it.
I think I agree with you. I like it. However, I will be honest. I kind of wish he had his own thing.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's funny because this is Frieza's third form. But what did Frost call it in the anime? Like his defender form?
It was his battle form, yeah.
Is that what it was? His battle form? I thought it was another name than that.
No, it's his battle form, yeah.
Okay. So
in the anime, he basically talks about it as though he only uses it whenever he's out in the battlefield and he's desperate. So that's the context, is that like nobody ever sees the third form because he doesn't use it because he's not out in battle getting pushed that far very often. So that's the reason
Yes.
he calls it his battle form.
To answer this question about it being a second or third form, it's his third form because Toyotaro actually drew Frost's second form in one of the bonus pages. I forget which one. It's been years, but he did draw Frost's second form. He went from first to third because he can do that. I mean, it's whatever, bro. It's. I don't think Frost is a poor man's Cooler. I see why you might think that, but they are very different characters.
Frost is better than Cooler.
He's way more like slimy in some ways, because he lies about being a good guy.
His character motivation and the way that he's set up is just better than Cooler. Cooler is a very straightforward. This is not me hating on Cooler. This is just me being factual.
Right.
Cooler's character is very simple. There is not much to his backstory. There is not much to who he is. That's not the case with Frost. Frost has a very nuanced backstory. So,
yeah, and I will say, me being a fan of Frieza's third form, we didn't really get Frieza's third form. We didn't get enough of it in the original manga. The fact that we got it back here, I'm very happy about because I do love Frieza's third form. But yeah, he's starting to go for Goku a bit. Now, this move right here is right out of the Frieza playbook. It's just that he's never met Frieza. But again, the universes are linked. And then the chapter, I think this is the end of the chapter here coming up, or at least we're close to it. But Goku goes Super Saiyan. Now, I remember I did a video where I stated, and I said this back in 2015, that I did not think that Goku would ever use the golden-haired Super Saiyan again, because now that he has the God forms, why would he go back? And to be honest with you, I don't really even much understand why he even did this, considering that he has higher forms to tap into. Like, was it energy conservation?
Well, it's not just energy conservation. This is very, very important because this is the story establishing us that Goku does still use Super Saiyan.
Like, right, I know that, but he doesn't need to.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it's not necessarily that he needs to. It's that the story is showing us that Goku is not using the battle power of Super Saiyan God against Frost. Because if he was, he would go into Super Saiyan Blue instead of Super Saiyan. So it has power scaling purposes, but not for the reasons where you would think, where it's like, yeah, SSJ is kind of unnecessary. Like, he should be able to beat it without it. It's more so Toyotaro going out of his way to show that the battle power of Super Saiyan God was not necessary to defeat Frost.
Well, so remember, basically, the anime version was the same. He did it there too.
This is something that they do. This is something that they use Super Saiyan particularly for a lot. Because Super Saiyan is an indicator that Goku is not using the key control technique to have the battle power of Super Saiyan God. If you see Goku in regular Super Saiyan, you know that he's not using the key control technique to tap into the full battle power of Super Saiyan God, because otherwise he would be blue. So this is kind of the story, like, implementing that to be like, hey, he's not using his full Super Saiyan God power against Frost. This is kind of what
I have a complete different theory to what you said. Not a counter theory, just a different one. I think that, for me, I think one of the reasons to why Goku chose to use this form now is because he knows there's more fights coming up and he doesn't want to play all his cards and reveal what his true power is. I think that he's going to save the higher forms for the higher problems that he runs into, because he doesn't want to reveal to Hit, who he knows is the real alpha of that team. He doesn't want to reveal to Hit that he's got higher forms.
Right.
He just doesn't. So now Frost jumps into his final form, and we have basically a Goku versus Frieza rematch. And and there it is. There it is, bro. Didn't I just say that?
Yeah, you did.
Yep. And then now this here is the bonus chapter that Toyotaro did, which is basically the bonus chapter reveals that off-screen Goku wished back Kaio's planet, because remember, it blew up during the Cell Saga. He never got it back. This was not in the anime, but this is the end of Volume 1 of Dragon Ball Super. We have this Toriyama and Toyotaro interview, and that's it. The next Mangalorian, we'll do Volume 2 probably won't be as long as this one. This first one, we had to introduce a bunch of new stuff. We had to go into the new lore. We had to have debates about the timeline. There was just a lot to cover here.
I had a blast, and I think everybody else did, so it was probably worth it. I mean, I
know, but I don't like holding you. We both have shit to do. I'm glad that it didn't go super, super long, but it's still like we needed. I knew this one to be longer, bro. And if I had the Resurrection F manga, it'd probably be even longer than that, but it's not necessary for this.
Right.
So
I appreciate everybody participating. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget, if you aren't subscribed, to subscribe to both of our channels.
Yes, please do that
on YouTube. The next stream.
All right. Well, they're asking here, you're going to do it every week. I don't know about every week because with Dragon Ball Super, there's only 24 chapters. So we may do it next week. We may do it the week after. I have to get with Jordan and we'll figure it out. If we do it next week, though, it'll be on a Tuesday. Is that all right?
Yep. It's fine.
Okay. Well, with that being said, as he said, subscribe to both of our channels if you haven't. And if you're not getting notified on videos, make sure you disable and enable or you unsub, resub, enable notifications. Also, spread out the This is Peak Dragon Ball video because it didn't get that many views and I really wanted it to. And I'm upset because I worked my ass off on that video. The editing is like top notch on that video. And it didn't even do 20K. And I really want that video to do well because everyone needs to watch it. So spread that out for me. I would appreciate it. And also, Jordan's manga is finished. Do you want to talk about the previous manga before we close out? Because the other one you did is done.
Yeah, so Keiko Daimon is done. It is a Galactic Patrolman Cashman themed manga that I just got done. We actually just sent 50 copies to Japan. Yuya Takahashi is probably going to end up getting a copy amongst a bunch of other people who go to this particular Doujin Con in Japan. We're sending copies to them. So that's really, really cool. I spent all the last week translating it to Japanese to send it over to Japan to send to some officials. I'm also in contact with Koyama, and he wrote the Cashman sequel series. A lot of people don't know this, but Nakasuru and Koyama wrote a Cashman sequel series that ran on Jump for a very short period of time. So I've reached out to Koyama. I'm going to give him a copy of it too because it's a love letter to his work just as much as it is anybody else, because his work on Cashman also his and Nakasuru's work also inspired me. So but anyway, long story short, it does come out on Multiverse, the Dragon Ball Multiverse website, every Friday and every Saturday. But if you'll go follow me on Twitter, I am going to post the entire manga for free on there soon.
Can you link your Twitter in the chat?
Yeah. So go follow me on there. I'm going to create a thread with the entire manga for free for people to read on there. I'm also going to create, a comic, a CBV, a C whatever file for you to read it that way if you want. But follow me on Twitter. You can get updates on that. It's a free manga. I'm going to print physical copies as well.
But charge him double for canceling me as his best man, bro.
People can hit me. Everybody can. If you want physical copies, I will acknowledge that in the future. I'm going to Lexington Comic-Con at the end of this month.
That's right.
To promote the comic, I'm giving away a bunch of free copies in Lexington at the end of this month. Because I'm giving away a bunch of free copies at Lexington Comic-Con, I can't afford to print copies right now to give to people online. But after that, if you'll hit me up and you want a physical copy, I'll make you one. We'll just work that out. Okay. But anyway, here is a link to my Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter and you can find all of this stuff. Hold on. Twitter is giving me the devil here. Hold on. My internet is just being. There we go. So here is a link to. Oh, actually, you'll have to send it, Danny. Here.
Wait, what?
I'll put it. I'll put it in the private chat. Just post that in the public chat. That's a link to my Twitter. I haven't signed into the public chat to where I can comment, so I can't do it. But just put that in the.
Okay. Oh, that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So just put that in the chat. Go follow me on Twitter if you guys are interested in. And another announcement. I'm also working on another Galactic Patrolman themed manga. I'm just starting the storyboarding and the rough sketches and stuff for it now after I've got Keiko Daimon done. I plan on having it running during the Moro anime, during the Galactic Patrolman anime, maybe even before that. So you've got that to look forward to as well. So definitely go follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my channel. You'll get updates on all that stuff. I do manga. I heavily enjoy it. I was heavily inspired by Toriyama, so you guys will probably enjoy it too. So just go check that out. But thank you so much for letting me plug that, Danny.
Always, man. And I will say, now that Keiko Daimon is done, I do want to give it a read because I haven't had a chance to, because when you first were making it, my eyesight was fucked, if you remember. Now I can read it.
What I would like to do is when we do the Cashman stream, if we ever do it, we just follow it up with my manga, because my manga is a sequel to Cashman. So if we read Cashman on stream and then we read that manga, it'll be like one big story. So that's what I would like to do.
Okay,
we'll get to that whenever we can.
Okay, what I was gonna do? Okay, well, I was actually gonna. Okay, real quick, I wanted to get Griffin on the Super Magic show. He says he wants to be on with you. I guess because he's more comfortable with you.
That makes sense,
but
yeah.
What I was saying is, if I read Keiko Daimon, wouldn't it make sense for both of you to be on Super Magic show just for like an interview? Then that way, like, you know, then we get, it's not so much about us doing a live read. It's not that, but it's just an interview about the project.
I just think it would be dope because you were talking about doing another Galactic Patrolman.
Oh no, we will do that. I'm talking about sooner than that. I'm talking about this year. What you're talking about is next year we'll do that.
Yeah, I just think it'd be really awesome if we had one giant Galactic Patrolman themed stream where the manga is at the end. You could of course read it before that. I just think that would be dope. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no. Anyway. I am not saying, the only reason why I'm saying next is because I'd rather do the Galactic Patrol stuff closer to the reveal of the moral arc in the anime. Sense. Yeah. Right. Plus, we got to get these Mangalorian episodes done. So after the 24 that we do here, we'll probably visit some of Toriyama's other stuff, including the Galactic Patrol, and then we can go from there. Also, I do have Toriyama's Manga Theater downloaded, so we can talk about some of the stuff in there as well. We can't review the entire thing in one stream, but there might be a few one-shots here and there, so people can kind of understand other stuff that's similar to Dragon Ball, but not entirely the same. So last super chat from Bob Zor. I'm from Connecticut, and what's good with this mass Comic-Con? Well, he's going to, was it Lexington Comic-Con?
I don't know anything about your local Comic-Con, your Massachusetts Comic-Con. I don't know anything about that. I go to Lexington Comic-Con every year. I have been going for years and years and years. So that's where I go. If you ever want to meet me in person, that's actually where to go, is Lexington Comic-Con, March of every year. I go there every year. I promote the hell out of my comics. I meet fans.
And there may be, and this is not set in stone yet, there may be a special live Mangalorian coming to a convention near you. I'm just talking to people right now. Nothing's been finalized yet. There's a possibility we may do that together. It'll be the first time I actually meet this guy in person. And I'm gonna give him a hug and see if he'll give me a reach around. Unlike Uch, who declined me, another heartbreaking. This guy's breaking, bro. He's broken my heart. I don't know how many times. I hope that he's found peace in breaking me.
You hear what you do to this man, Uchi?
He hurt me.
You hear what you do to this man?
Hurt me, bro. Hurt me. You know how good I would have been at handing the ring to him, bro? I would have been like, some shit out of a Naotoshi Shida anime cut, bro. But maybe we'll do that. I have to talk to my people and because I already pitched it to them. So we'll see if they go for it. Again, that could be next year. That's not a guarantee yet, but I'd like to make it happen. We'll do something special for the con circuit because it'll be different than this. So, anyways, we got to get out of here. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good day, and we'll see you on the next one. Keep an eye on your notifications for the next one. Take care. Ciao.